Chapter 1405. This is the work of the two of us. Without your help, I wouldn't have succeeded. Hearing Ling Qinshue's words, Su Yi nodded his head happily, his eyes full of guilt, and said softly, "If I had known that you were going to create such a large shadow of your true body, consume so much energy, and become so weak, I definitely wouldn't have let you take such a risk." Ling Qinsue smiled weakly. There was still no trace of blood on her face, and her eyes were rolling around. "That's not my true body, it's just the effect of casting a spell. According to the elders in the clan, that was created by our ancestor, Ling Lanin, and this secret technique was also created by her. It's only because this technique is ancient and complicated, and I'm just a remnant soul, that I'm so weak after casting it." Su Yi suddenly realized and recalled the snow-white cat just now. Its body covered the sky and covered the sun, and its aura was old, as if it had traveled through the ancient times. It was indeed not a martial skill that could be transformed into by a living person. "Then how do you feel now?" Su Yi's eyes were burning, and his expression was filled with extreme concern. "I just feel a little sleepy." "Su Yi, you have to walk the rest of the way by yourself. I might need to recover for a while." Su Yi's heart turned cold. Could it be that Ling Qinsue was going to sleep for a long time like last time? During this period of time, although Ling Qinsue did not lend her strength to him, she had helped Su Yi too much through her experience. Over time, Su Yi had gotten used to having such a little cat demon living in his body. There was someone to chat with him at any time and tell him what to do when he was in danger. Right now, Ling Qinsue was about to fall asleep again. Su Yi immediately felt a sense of emptiness in his heart, but he also knew that there was nothing he could do. Ling Qinsue would be thanking the heavens and earth if he did not overexert his soul. "All right, you rest well. I'll walk the rest of the way for you." Qinsue? Before he finished speaking, Su Yi realized that Ling Qinsue had already fallen asleep in his soul. Su Yi was speechless. This time, Su Yi could clearly see that Ling Qinsue was sleeping in his soul. She was delicate and pitiful, and there was some tranquility and elegance in her fragility. Her breathing was long, as if she had entered a sweet dreamland. Su Yi shook his head helplessly. He no longer had the arrogance of the demon emperor cat. "Being able to see, it is already my greatest fortune." Su Yi comforted himself. Then, he withdrew from the sea of consciousness and restored his consciousness. Looking at the rosy clouds in the distance and the surrounding spiritual energy, Su Yi calmed himself down. Yangming followed behind him. After stretching his arms and legs, Su Yi took a deep breath and opened his eyes again. His eyes suddenly shone brightly. Looking carefully, what appeared in front of him was a very huge canyon. The milky white fog wandered between the mountains. It was very comfortable and leisurely. From the middle of the canyon, the clouds and mist in the distance overflowed and covered the hillside. It spread out a soft gauze, fluttering and enveloping the entire canyon. The dark yellow soil, the picturesque mountains, and the beautiful and elegant faraway mountains were all hidden in the mist, making it impossible to see anything clearly. In the nearby canyon, ancient trees towered into the sky, and spiritual birds chirped. Sometimes, the sun was covered by the dense shade. One could vaguely hear the gurgling sound of water and the sound of a waterfall. After a while, the clouds in the sky disappeared in an instant, and the gloomy dusk came quickly. Before he could fully appreciate the beautiful scenery, the sky and the canyon darkened in an instant. The sun set in the west, and the rosy clouds fluttered. Yangming raised his eyebrows, and his demonic aura surged. He was full of defense. "The scenery here is so strange. Why is it dark one moment and then bright the next?" Su Yi was also very surprised. He looked back again, and as Ling Qinsue said, the entrance of the giant tree was behind them. It turned out that after a long time, they didn't leave even half a step. What an amazing camouflage. I actually didn't discover it. Su Yi muttered in his heart. The voices that he heard just now should have come from the canyon. The stars and moon could be seen with the naked eye, and the strange peaks were changing. The magnificent and dangerous scenery in the canyon changed with the morning glow. The rosy clouds bathed the sun, and the sky was filled with dazzling colors. The entrance of the canyon in front was faintly discernible. It was serene and beautiful. The soaring demonic aura soared into the sky, rendering the sky like a thick watercolor painting. In front of us should be the place where the big demon appears. Let's go take a look. He muttered to himself. The energy under his feet rose sharply, and he quickly flashed into the canyon with Yangming. Flying in the air, the entire canyon was like a painting that slowly unfolded. The mountains rose and fell. The mountains on both sides converged in the middle, forming an incomparably huge canyon. The place where the mountains converged was like the mouth of a pot. The paths between the canyons were winding. As soon as they passed through the narrow passageway, the interior of the canyon was extremely vast. Springs gushed out like flowing silver and jade. The heaven and earth were vast, filled with mist and clouds. Magnificent mountains, beautiful rivers, precipices, and broken cliffs. Su Yi and Yangming stood in the air at the top of the mountain, looking down at the panoramic scene. The clouds that were like strands of silk seemed to be within reach. The panoramic view of the canyon was panoramic. The mountains on both sides rose and fell. From the south to the north, the terrain rose in succession. The mountain valleys were connected like a soaring dragon, divine and extraordinary. The ravine in the middle was like a cut. The broken walls and broken mountains were like two incomparably huge cat-shaped demonic beasts lying horizontally. They stood tall and faced each other, majestic and marvelous. Not long after, the night spread. The white clouds quickly gathered together again. In the canyon, the hazy clouds and mist, under the illumination of the sky, pitter-patter of misty and dreary drizzle, accompanied by demonic aura, was extremely strange. How strange. Yangming, this place is filled with demonic aura. You should be able to feel it more directly. Try to see if there are any traces of humans around. Yes, Yangming respectfully said and took a few steps forward. Monstrous demonic aura surged from Yangming's body. A golden beam of demonic aura shot out from between Yangming's eyebrows and swept over the entire canyon. Boom! The phantom of the white python's main body was faintly discernible. Its mouth was swallowing and spitting. It was very frightening. The drill-like snake eyes gradually rose into the air and scanned the entire canyon, occasionally letting out hissing sounds. Suddenly, the obscure aura of heaven and earth began to slowly descend. One could clearly feel the monstrous demonic aura in the air, accompanied by wisps of energy fluctuations, which interacted with Yangming's demonic aura. An invisible pressure quickly rose from Yangming's body. After a long while, Yangming's eyes lit up again. At the mouth of the canyon filled with demonic aura, he pointed at the faint purple mist rising in spirals from the mouth of the pot and cried out in alarm. "Found it! Master, it's over there!" The demonic aura is the strongest and mixed with the aura of humans. Su Yi's yuan qi surged. Looking carefully, there was indeed demonic aura filling the sky, faintly emitting a rapidly spreading pressure. Let's go. Chapter 1406. The closer he got to the purple demonic light, the more Su Yi could feel the towering demonic aura in the sky. It was like a pillar of water slowly rising into the sky. Rumbling sounds echoed as the energy of heaven and earth descended. The energy of heaven and earth was like a monstrous wave, instantly fluctuating violently. It squeezed the air, creating a series of spatial ripples. The energy of heaven and earth was very strange. It brought with it a vast pressure, as if it had descended from ancient times. Then, it all gathered towards the crack in the canyon. Su Yi and Yangming looked at each other and then rushed into the crack in the canyon. The moment they entered the crack, boundless darkness surged towards Su Yi like a tide. Su Yi circulated his yuan qi and used the weak light to travel through the mountain. Su Yi circulated the art of driving the heavens, and the heavenly origin demonic soul in his body shone brightly. He had learned from his mistakes. He was certain that this place was not a smokescreen. As they walked slowly, they heard the sounds of fighting in the distance. It was extremely intense. Su Yi and Yangming immediately withdrew their yuan qi. Wind blew under their feet as they quickly went into the mountain to investigate. "Sikong Shan, what are you doing?" A deep and powerful voice rang out in the distance. Bang! At this time, Su Yi and Yangming had already arrived nearby. They found a flat area and quietly hid. Looking down, there were a few familiar figures. They were the profound Yin Gate's Sikong Shang and Blue Cloud Hall's Elder Xian Shuang and Elder Chen Chuan. The two people from the Blue Cloud Hall were facing Sikong Shang. The three of them surrounded a flower field. The flower field was filled with a strange white light that swayed with the wind. Su Yi was startled. He recalled that he had seen such a strange flower in the records of the Heavenly Palace. This flower was called the serene flame flower. It was extremely rare and had a strong soul-sucking ability. It was the best ingredient for refining the yellow grade 7 soul seizing pill. Consuming it could increase one's combat strength for a short period of time. However, unless one had an extremely strong soul talent, it was easy to suffer a backlash. However, its medicinal properties were weak and could not survive independently in the outside world. He did not expect to find such a large field of serene flame flowers here. Su Yi secretly thought that this place was filled with demonic qi and was filled with spiritual qi. It was definitely suitable for the growth of the serene flame flower. However, for such a huge serene flame flower to grow so well, someone must have done it on purpose. He looked at Xian Shuang, who was standing aside. White light was shining around her. She looked serious. That hoarse voice was from Xian Shuang. At this moment, Sikong Shang was slightly mad. He held a serene blaze flower in his hand and was still chewing it in his mouth. His eyes revealed a ferocious glint, and he was extremely violent. Ha ha ha! As he spoke, he swallowed another serene flame flower and chewed vigorously. "What am I doing?" Xian Shuang, hand over the star token. "Then you could die too." Sikong Shang, who had been sinister and cunning at the entrance of the valley, was now abnormally evil. His eyes were blood red, and an abnormally violent energy was spreading around his body. He was like a madman. Oh no, he swallowed the serene flame flower. Su Yi was also shocked. The serene flame flower had an extremely strong, soul-sucking ability. However, it was not difficult for an origin ancestor expert to resist it. However, if it was swallowed into the body, the serene flame flower would directly affect the soul. The violent medicinal power would temporarily increase one's combat strength. It was very similar to the spiritual core explosion of a barbaric beast, but it would only cause damage to the soul. Sikong Shang was like a demon. He waved his sleeve, and a huge gust of wind formed into a qi wave. It was like a small storm that directly shot out. At the ropeway, there was a dull and shocking sound. It was like thunder exploding in the small mountain. The sound of the explosion shook the heavens and the earth. Immediately, everything became still and motionless. Obviously, there was an extremely profound restriction in the mountain. Walala! Xian Shuang's white robe fluttered. With a flick of her sleeve, a gust of spiritual qi radiated out like a waterfall. It drew a circle around her and directly blocked the gust of wind. Chen Chuan, he swallowed the serene flame flower. If we don't subdue him quickly, the consequences will be unimaginable. Chen Chuan, who was at the side, nodded slightly. His killing intent soared as a long spear appeared in his hand. With the spear in hand, his robe fluttered behind him as he spoke faintly. "Elder Xian Shuang kill." Bang! 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 As soon as Chen Chuan finished speaking, the small flat ground was instantly filled with spiritual qi radiance that blotted out the sky and earth. Clanging sounds rang out incessantly. A fierce gust of wind blew fiercely on Su Yi's face. An incomparably powerful and domineering aura swept out. Immediately, An earth-shattering fiendish aura spread out in all directions. In an instant, a cold sword light flashed and instantly turned the rock that Su-yi was hiding behind into dust. Go! Go through that flower field. Su-yi hurriedly transmitted his spiritual chi to Yangming. Su-yi stomped his foot. The moment the rock exploded, the spiritual chi around his body rapidly rose. Together with Yangming, they rapidly flew into the air, leaving behind two afterimages. Sui, Sikong Shang, Xian Shuang, and the others, who were fighting fiercely, suddenly saw two figures in the air. After careful observation, they realized that it was Su-yi from the Bawang sect. Sikong Shang escaped from the battle. He pushed and released his palms. A dragon-like yellow light attacked Su-yi. At the same time, he moved and prepared to chase after Su-yi. Bang! When Xian Shuang saw Su-yi, she was overjoyed. The Bawang sect and the Tsangyun Palace had become allies. It was undoubtedly a great thing that an ally had appeared here. Seeing Su-yi in trouble, a ball of fire appeared in Xian Shuang's eyes. Her palms rapidly swept out like a blade. The incomparably sharp red blade light erupted like a volcano. It suddenly erupted and collided with Sikong Shang's spiritual chi radiance in the air. Boom! The spiritual chi collided and an extremely domineering aura exploded. Golden spears clashed. The violent energy quickly caused the surrounding air to heat up. Everything in the surroundings started to burn. The entire serene flame flower field was instantly ignited. A sea of fire surged within the mountain. The extremely high temperature caused the ripples in the air to become fierce. Above the flower field, Chun Chuan quickly flew over. He roared and shot out another spiritual chi beam, blocking Sikong Shang's path. His face was as cold as frost as he said in a deep voice, "Where do you think you are going?" Soon after, Sikong Shang and Chun Chuan started to fight fiercely again. Su-yi looked at the serene flame flower field and felt pain in his heart. At this moment, Elder Xian Shuang's spiritual chi transmission sounded in his ears. "Sectmaster Su, Chun Chuan, and I will delay Sikong Shang. Please go in and take a look at the deeper parts of the secret realm. Don't let Sikong Shang get there first. Don't forget that we are allies." Elder Xian Shuang deliberately emphasized the word ally. Her understanding of Su-yi came from Wei Hong and Elder Xiaowushu. At this moment, Xian Shuang could only choose to believe in Su-yi. She placed her hopes on Su-yi. Chapter 1407. Behind him, Sikong Shang let out another loud roar. Then he began a fight with Xian Shuang and Yangming. As they ran deeper, Su-yi cursed inwardly. What kind of people were these? It was hard to find a single serene flame flower outside, but they actually burned an entire flower field. What a waste, Su-yi muttered. Then, Yangming poked Su-yi from behind. "Master for you." Su-yi turned around to take a look and was overjoyed. In Yangming's hand was a cluster of serene flame flowers, flickering with a fluorescent light. "When did you get it?" Su-yi was overjoyed. He took the serene flame flower and held it gently, not daring to use too much force. Yangming's eyes flashed with pride. Speaking of which, the fierce wind from the two of them had set the flower field ablaze. The overflowing wind blew a few small serene flame flowers into the air. Yangming took the opportunity to grab a handful. Su-yi nodded happily. Without saying anything, he quickly brought Yangming deeper into the mountain and found a remote area. He had Yangming stand guard outside. Su-yi opened the mysterious space. He hadn't entered for a long time, so the spirit chi inside was even denser. Su-yi put the serene flame flower into the field as quickly as possible. A bit interesting, when Su-yi entered the mysterious space, the voice in the darkness rang out again. This time, Su-yi didn't hear it. What surprised Su-yi was that the moment the serene flame flower entered the soil, it shone brightly, but the soul-sucking power clearly weakened. "Brat, you brought serene flame flowers in? So many?" The blood jade spirit Ginseng jumped out of the grass and looked at the serene flame flower with amazement. Even for a demon, illusionary realm blood jade, spirit ginseng, serene flame flower wasn't something that could be seen easily. So he shook his head slightly. Thinking of the sea of flames in the field, his heart ached. If the blood jade, spirit ginseng knew that a field of serene flame flowers had been burned, would it be more upset than him? That's right. Grandpa Ginseng, how's little handsome? The blood jade, spirit ginseng sighed as it pointed at handsome Sue, who was lying on the ground. Its chubby face was still heavy from being unconscious. This fat kid has been sleeping all this time. His aura is stable, but I don't know why he hasn't woken up. Sue, he touched his fat forehead and sighed secretly. Then he said goodbye to the blood jasper ginseng and left the mysterious space again. When Yangming saw Sui come out, he bowed slightly and asked about Little Commander. It's still the same. Yangming, try to sense if Elder Tang Wang's aura is here. Sui felt this was strange. Tang Wang had entered after Xin Shuang. Why had he not seen any trace of him? Yangming said softly as he closed his eyes and immediately spread his demonic qi. Elder Tang Wang's aura lingered here. The demonic qi is the thickest in front. Master, we should be very close to Elder Tang Wang. Su Yi looked ahead and nodded inwardly. In the darkness, Su Yi and Yangming passed through the mountain. They discovered a stone door with the carving of a demonic beast on it. It was very lifelike and had a faint purple demonic light surrounding it. After muttering to himself for a while, Su Yi circulated his essence and pushed the stone door open. Behind the dusty door was a long flight of stairs. As they walked down the stairs, Su Yi and Yangming could tell that they were going down. At the end of the stairs was another stone door. After pushing it open, they found themselves in a huge stone room. There were countless platforms in the stone room. 4 statues stood on each side of the platforms. There was even a huge bee statue in the middle. Each statue had a different shape. They looked like a cat and a fox. They were very lifelike and looked very lifelike. The bee statues on both sides were tall and mighty. However, there was a hint of gentleness in their eyes. They were very lifelike. The tails of the statues went from the inside to the outside, from the right to the left, 1 tail to 9 tails. The innermost 9-tailed statue was much larger than all the previous statues. The huge 9 tails circled around its body. The statue looked like a beast, but not a beast. It looked like a human, but not a human. However, what Sui was certain of was that if this statue took human form, it would be very enchanting and charming. It was an existence that could not be imagined. While Sui was still looking around, a faint voice came out. Oh, this little thing is quite handsome. Ho ho. There was a hint of charm in her voice. She was extremely charming and full of smiles. After so many years, someone has finally come in. On the other side, a faint voice came out. It was gentle and tranquil, as if it had experienced the baptism of time. Boss, this little guy doesn't seem ordinary. A young and cute voice came out. He was looking around when he heard the voice. He suddenly raised his head and looked at the statues around him. A cold light flashed between his brows. Who's talking? He shouted. Su Yi's sudden voice caused Yang Ming, who was at the side, to be at a loss as to what to do. Master, what's wrong? There's no sound. After hearing this, Su Yi's back was covered in cold sweat. He looked at the statues near the door again. His heart was full of doubts. Su Yi sneered. After confirming that the voice just now was not fake, he said again, pretending to be mysterious. Don't you dare to come out? Listening carefully, a young and cute voice sounded again, but this time the voice was no longer loud, and it was muttering softly. Boss, this guy seems to be able to hear our voices. The boss that the cute voice was referring to did not make sound. The charming voice came again. Oh, he looks pretty good. His ears are quite good. Little sister, go tease him. When Sui heard that someone wanted to tease him, he was both happy and angry. His fighting spirit was ignited. He quickly raised his essence. The fiery red essence immediately lit up the entire stone room. Sui saw the faces of the 9 statues clearly, and a smile flashed across his face. Light suddenly appeared in his hand. The flame in his hand was like a huge dragon. He casually struck in the direction of the voice. Bang! The head of the statue on the right suddenly burst into flames. He yelled, accompanied by a vast aura. A scarlet light soared into the sky. In front of a dazzling light flickered. The huge impact blew away the dust in the stone room. Suyi's clothes fluttered. His aura was like that of a war god. This aura, a slightly shocked voice came from the darkness. At the same time, a resentment vortex appeared under Suyi's feet. It was like a storm, causing the ground to tremble and the air to rumble. The burning statues began to tremble. Huge spatial ripples appeared in front of them. Yi sent a voice transmission, indicating for Yangming to quickly retreat. Chapter 1408. Dust filled the air, and a small figure walked out from the dust. The burning statue quickly stopped burning, and the statue's face was no longer as spirited as before. Walking closer, under the illumination of Su Yi's fire attribute light, Su Yi discovered that it was a 6 or 7-year-old girl. She had exquisite almond eyes and 2 ponytails on her head. She looked very lively, and her height was about the same as Su Yi's. When she stood up, she was not even half of Su Yi's height. You stinking brat. You actually used fire to burn me. The little girl stared at Su Yi with her eyes wide open, and her head was black and swollen. Her little face was full of anger, and she shouted at him like an old man. Su Yi was also speechless. He did not expect that the one who came out of the statue was a little person. The little girl was definitely not ordinary since she could walk out of the statue. Su Yi focused and sensed that the little girl was not a physical body, but she was also not a weak remnant soul like Ling Qianxue. Stinking rogue, why are your dirty eyes and stinky Yuan Qi looking at me? The little girl raised her voice and covered her chest with her hands, like a little shrew. Listening to the little girl's dramatic performance, Su Yi was speechless and shook his head. What was going on? Don't spout nonsense. Who are you? Why are you here? Su Yi's expression turned serious as he asked in a low voice. The little girl bit her lips. Seeing that she could not scare Su Yi, she stomped on the ground and snorted. She looked up at Su Yi with her nostrils. Who are you? You broke into my forbidden area, and you dare to ask me who I am? Get out, get out. The little girl pretended to be an adult, and her lips were like delicate flower buds. She waved her little hands in the air, signaling Su Yi to get out quickly. Listening to their conversation, a quiet and gentle voice asked the boss in the darkness in a low voice. Sir, do you want to help Ninth Sister? This young man is a little strange. After a while, a few words faintly came from the top of the stone room. It's okay, you guys protect her. I'll go see how that guy's doing. Su Yi looked at the very cute little girl. Not only was he not angry, he was even a little cute. This little girl and little handsome are quite compatible. It's just that they don't have the fortune to be together. All they know is to sleep. At this time, Yangming came over to ask if he needed help. Su Yi's mind was spinning rapidly. Since there was someone else here who wouldn't let him in, then he would go in. Let's see how long you can hide. Then, Su Yi waved his hand and walked towards the little girl alone with a smile on his face as he said mischievously, Tell me, where are your parents? Are you the only one guarding the door? Su Yi joked. Instantly, the little girl's demonic aura soared into the sky, and her 2 braids stood on either side of her head like 2 goat horns. You. Say it one more time. Who's the brat? A trace of shock flashed through Su Yi's eyes. Although this little guy was not big, the demonic qi that surged out was much stronger than Yangming's. It was estimated that she was at LV2 Demon Emperor realm. It seemed that the strength behind the little girl could not be underestimated. Su Yi immediately stopped joking and restrained his expression. Haha, Ninth Sister is angry. This boy is finished. The charming voice sounded again, giggling in the air. Yangming behind her was very vigilant. He swallowed a mouthful of saliva slightly. The little girl in front of him was not to be trifled with. Su Yi secretly operated the Origin Supreme technique to the extreme. The aura around him surged rapidly, and a majestic and overbearing aura descended. This aura surged, and the whole stone room shook rapidly. The space rippled, and the aura was monstrous. "Oh no, little sister, don't go." As soon as the voice fell, the little girl's demonic chi surged. Before Yang Ming behind her could react, the little girl drew a long arc in the air and rushed towards Su Yi at the door. Bang! The little girl pounced out. Her feet touched the ground, and a palm print quickly formed a huge beast palm print in the air and slapped towards Su Yi. Before Yang Ming could react, Su Yi's right foot kicked. The Origin Supreme technique was fully operated, and the Yuan Qi in his body was surging. Su Yi roared. Bang! A ball of flame suddenly flew out from Su Yi's palm. The two palm prints collided, and a faint muffled sound was heard. The little girl's figure quickly approached. As soon as she touched Su Yi, the demonic qi around her body immediately stopped surging. The monstrous aura suddenly weakened. The little girl, who was shocked by this change, was stunned on the spot. She was at a loss, and her eyes were blank. Su Yi smiled mysteriously and whispered in his heart, "As long as you are a savage beast, it will be easy." As soon as his voice fell, Su Yi pushed and pulled his hands. Two streams of wind, a tribute Yuan Qi, stretched out towards the little girl and quickly pulled her to his side. The little girl's arrogant expression turned into one of fear. Su Yi's face was illuminated by the milky white Yuan Qi, making him look like a demon god. Su Yi glanced at the statue behind the little girl from the corner of his eye, and the corner of his mouth flashed an imperceptible arc. Then he placed his hand on the little girl's chubby face and quickly rubbed it. The little girl, who was frightened by Su Yi's actions, did not dare to move under the restriction of the Origin Supreme technique. She allowed Su Yi to rub her face until it was deformed. "You still say you're not a brat. You still say you're not a brat. You don't even call out the people in your family. See if I won't bully you." Su Yi laughed as he rubbed the little girl's chubby face happily. Woo-ah! After a few breaths, the little girl finally reacted. She cried loudly in Su Yi's arms, full of fear. "Elder sister, save me, Wah!" A heart-wrenching scream resounded throughout the stone room. Su Yi quickly covered his ears. The little girl's voice was really good. Impudent. The charming voice from just a moment ago changed from charming to murderous in an instant. In an instant, different from the little girl's aura, an unparalleled aura jumped out from the statue behind her. Majestic spatial ripples like a small tornado rushed toward Su Yi. Bang! Su Yi and Yang Ming made their moves at the same time. Light shone brightly as their hands moved. Blazing flames and the demonic aura filled with golden dragon aura collided with the spatial ripples. Bang! Su Yi and Yang Ming retreated 2 steps at the same time. Seeing the smoke and dust dissipate, the strange demonic aura emitted an extremely bright purple light. A face full of charm appeared in the darkness. Her figure was slender, and her waist was slender. On the woman's charming face, her hair was drooping down. Between the fragrant and tender jade, her dimples were bright and beautiful. Every frown and smile was soul-stirring, charming and boneless. Her eyebrows were full of enchantment. Chapter 1409. Su Yi was secretly shocked, and his face was completely covered with a solemn expression. The charming woman in front of him was definitely at a higher cultivation level than him, or even above Yang Ming. She was an extremely terrifying opponent. The mysterious woman hugged the little girl in her arms and gently touched her forehead. She blew on her forehead and comforted her softly. After comforting the little girl, a trace of coldness flashed across the woman's charming face. She raised her eyes and stared straight at Su Yi. "You're shameless. You even want to bully a child?" When the little girl in her arms heard the mysterious woman's words, she immediately stopped crying. She touched her forehead, tugged at the corner of the mysterious woman's clothes, and said aggrievedly, "Second sister, I'm not a child." When Su Yi saw that the little girl was still arguing about whether she was a child or not, he couldn't help but laugh. The mysterious woman put the little girl down and patted the little girl's back. She sneered, "Shut up. Go to the side. The little girl immediately withered and walked to the side with her head lowered. She watched her second sister and Su negotiate. What are you laughing at? At this moment, the mysterious woman also felt the origin supreme technique on Su Yi's body. She revealed a look of fear and asked in a deep voice. Su Yi spread out his hands and said helplessly, "No, I saw that the little girl was quite pretty, so I played with her." The mysterious woman tucked her hair behind her ears. Her eyes moved, and there was a faint cold light that could take one's soul flashing past as she looked at Su Yi with watery eyes. "Little girl, what's so fun about it? Do you want me to play with you?" Su Yi couldn't help but tremble. He exchanged glances with Yang Ming. The mysterious woman in front of him was comparable to Yin Ming's charm. "Master, she doesn't seem to be easy to deal with," Yang Ming whispered. "Ahem." Su Yi cleared his throat and looked at the mysterious woman. "How are you going to play with me, beautiful sister?" Su Yi had a mischievous smile in his eyes as he looked at the mysterious woman. The mysterious woman's voice was like an oriole's twinkling in the air, and the lust in her eyes was like a gentle breeze that could not be dispelled. It went straight into Su Yi's heart, tickling Su Yi's heart as if there were ants on a hot pan. "Brat, you're so bad. You even want to take advantage of your big sister?" She pointed her finger in the air, then covered her face and giggled. She was extremely charming and charming. Omit. The little girl at the side made funny faces at Su Yi and cutely said, "You're a little naughty." Su Yi raised his eyebrows. His eyes were as cold as lightning as he glared at the little girl. "Wow!" The chubby little girl hurriedly hid behind the mysterious woman, then made a funny face. "Oomph, stinking brat, second sister. Help me teach him a lesson." The mysterious woman gently patted the little girl's forehead and said gently, "All right, you go back first. You've already grown a horn. It's so ugly." The little girl looked up and saw that the chubby little girl's forehead was bulging. She glared at Su Yi again, and her heart was filled with resentment. "Stinking brat, just you wait." As soon as she finished speaking, the little girl turned around and walked toward the burning statue. A huge spatial ripple spread out again. Above the void, dust flew everywhere. The little girl's figure disappeared in the blink of an eye. Su Yi looked at the little girl's expression, and his heart was filled with exasperation. This little girl is a little similar to Qinxue from before. She's so cute. Seeing that Su Yi was deep in thought, the mysterious woman raised her hands, and an extremely gentle gust of wind swept towards Su Yi like a quiet storm. Su Yi turned his mind and focused his eyes. The Origin Supreme technique surged around him again, and a wall of air rose in front of him. He took a step back. The demonic aura around Yang Ming's body surged, and faint golden dragon patterns covered his body. He had an unstoppable momentum, and a demonic light from his palm collided with a gust of wind. Bang! At this moment, the stone room was filled with sand and stones. The energy swept out, and the huge impact caused the surrounding void to tremble. Su Yi took the opportunity to jump back and used the momentum to retreat. He landed steadily on the ground, and his body was as stable as a rock. He looked at the mysterious woman with a serious expression. Looking at the mysterious woman, Su Yi's eyes were filled with fighting spirit. His eyes were clear, and his hair danced in the wind. For rays of Yuan Qi light surrounded him, and he was incomparably mighty. The entire stone room was immediately lit up. On the other side, the mysterious woman turned around, and with a raise of her hand, she turned the monstrous energy into nothingness. At the same time, she was secretly shocked. This brat's helper is also a little troublesome. What's more terrifying is the aura on this brat's body. The mysterious woman thought to herself. She had obviously been affected by Su Yi's attack just now. Although the difference in cultivation level made the effect of her martial skill not too bad, she knew the difference very well. She had obviously been suppressed for some reason. Just as Su Yi used the momentum to retreat, a few voices circled above the void. "Second sister, hurry up and get rid of them. They're so noisy." Two gentle voices sounded at the same time, one after the other, and they were very coordinated. You think I'm noisy? I think you're the ones who are noisy. Come out. He shouted in a deep voice. The light in his hand was like a weave, shooting out a burst of light into the air as he spoke loudly. Yi knew that this place was very strange. Tang Wang's disappearance and the appearance of the great demon. With so many stone statues that seemed to be alive, there must be an extraordinary secret. Yi was so unscrupulous because he wanted to force these people out and see their true faces. Brat, I dare you to say that again. Who is this person? Wait for me. I'll come out and meet you. Big sister, someone is bullying us. Woo-woo. This voice was obviously the voice of the little girl just now. Everyone quiet down. Big sister isn't here. So listen to second sister. The gentle voice from before was now graceful and elegant. When a mysterious woman heard the voices floating above the void, she suddenly exploded. The few women were like a boiling volcano, and their voices reverberated throughout the stone room. All of you shut up. The mysterious woman was a little annoyed by the voices that sounded at the same time. Looking at the smiling Yi in the distance, her heart suddenly trembled. A bad premonition surged in her heart. This brat was a little strange, and she had to be careful. The mysterious woman was secretly shocked. The man in front of her could actually understand the voices of her sisters. She was very clear that compared to the barbaric beasts outside, they were not ordinary creatures. Moreover, they were under the protection of her big sister. Who are you? Why can you hear us? When Yi heard that, he was also interested. It seemed that it was roughly the same as what he had imagined. He made a hand gesture, indicating for Yang Ming to move back. I'll make the first move later. If there are any accidents, just let me know. He smiled at the mysterious woman again. His heart was filled with curiosity as he raised his eyebrows. Chapter 14:10. The mysterious woman raised her eyebrows slightly, revealing some disdain in her eyes. She then laughed softly. All right, do you want to play? Come on. In an instant, the mysterious woman's figure rose. Demonic chi filled the stone room, and the shadow of her original body slowly appeared behind her. It was actually a gigantic cat beast with 8 tails. Its red eyes were filled with murderous intent, and its blood-red chi surged towards Yi like a tidal wave. What a strong original body! Yi was secretly shocked. Suddenly, the heart of heaven's soul appeared in his hand. Suddenly, a dazzling light spread out from the stone room. The light was so bright that it looked like a galaxy. A little sacred weapon dares to cause trouble here? Leave your life. After saying that, the mysterious woman's body was filled with demonic chi, pouring out like a river. Unparalleled demonic chi burst out, and an invisible force spread out with a boom. The giant cat's fierce eyes looked at Yi fiercely, and then a mountain-like giant palm slapped towards Yi. Boom, 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 boom. Huge tails in the huge stone room bared their fangs and brandished their claws, directly compressing the space, and flew out in the void. In an instant, all the tails came out at the same time. When the giant palm arrived, Yi suddenly trembled and quickly retreated. The huge vibration set off monstrous waves that were incomparably ferocious, shaking heaven and earth. Demon Grandmaster Realm Cultivation. Yi no longer joked and fully operated the Origin Supreme technique. The Heaven Origin Demon Soul in his body quickly shone brightly. You think you're the only one who can change? Yi roared. Feeling such a terrifying vibration, the current Yi no longer held back his strength. He clenched the Star of Heaven's soul tightly in his hand and fully activated the heavenly demon image. Whoosh! Suddenly, a sky full of golden light shrouded the stone room, and a loud hissing sound made the entire space tremble strangely. The phoenix cried 9 heavens, mighty and endless. The giant cat beast's fierce eyes gradually revealed incomparable shock, and there was a slight rustling. Behind Yi, an incomparably huge figure of a divine bird with golden light gradually appeared, as if it was real. It became clearer and clearer. In the end, it flapped its wings and roared, stirring up wind. This, third sister, is this the divine bird that big sister brought back? No, it's not a phoenix, it's an emperor sparrow. We've seen it before. Fourth sister, the aura is very strange. Why does it have the aura of a golden dragon? Without waiting for everyone to finish, Su Yi's eyes were full of fighting spirit. Looking at the giant cat beast, his whole body was full of murderous intent. It had been a long time since he had a good fight. Demon Ancestor Realm. He wasn't very strong either. Come on, I'll show you what I'm capable of. Su Yi roared. The fire attribute Yuan Shi around him caused the Emperor Sparrow's shadow to expand even more. The temperature of the entire space suddenly became extremely hot. At this time, Su Yi couldn't see that the faces of the charming young women who were looking around in the air were already filled with shock. Second sister, let me help you. The mysterious woman's eyes seemed to be burning with flames. She waved her sleeves, stabilized her body, and shouted, "All of you go back. Do you not want to live anymore? I'll deal with it." After saying that, the mysterious woman shouted, and her fighting strength reached its peak. "Huh, then let's see if an old bird like you can still fly." Immediately after, the golden light behind Su Yi was as bright as the sun. Following the screeching sound, the divine halo around Su Yi's body spread out. It moved with the wind, making him look like a supreme god. The divine bird that was extremely close to a phoenix completely spread its wings. It was filled with crimson flames and looked down on the world. Its mighty divine aura was extremely shocking. The Emperor Sparrow and the big cat faced each other. The surging pressure was like the ancient times that traversed through time and space. An ancient and melodious voice chanted in the air. Sonorous clangs rang out endlessly. Why is my aura weakening? Third sister. It doesn't seem like it's from the barbarian demon race, but can transform into the Emperor Sparrow shadow. This strange aura is also making me feel a little uncomfortable. What is his background? No, let's go help second sister. This brat is difficult to deal with. Her gentle and weak voice carried an unquestionable tone as she spoke heavily. No, big sister isn't here. If we go out, our souls will be destroyed. The third sister was a little anxious, but there was nothing she could do. What a powerful pressure. The mysterious woman looked at Su Yi's Emperor Sparrow projection with fear in her eyes. The terrifying demonic aura made her blood boil. The image of the heavenly demon, the image of 10,000 beasts, the image of 10,000 beasts, the image of creation, the image of creation, the image of heaven, earth, and man. The image of the heavenly demon, shocking the heavens and earth, making ghosts and gods weep. Su Yi murmured within the Emperor Sparrow's shadow. After reading the heavenly demon image's incantation again, Su Yi had a deeper understanding of the heavenly demon image. The entire stone room became incomparably hot as the Emperor Sparrow's huge body charged towards the mysterious woman. At the same time, the starry sky sword in Su Yi's hand glowed brightly. An endless stream of golden flames surged towards the mysterious woman along with the sword aura. The supreme demonic aura filled the sky and burned everything in the world. As soon as it fluctuated, the blazing aura made the few figures in the void by the side change their expressions and tremble in fear. The mysterious woman shouted, "Don't come out." She was a little anxious, as she was afraid that the few sisters behind her would run out without a care. In an instant, the huge cat also moved. The domineering and terrifying aura swept across the sky like a huge wave and pounced towards the Emperor Sparrow with the power to destroy everything. The mysterious woman's 5 fingers formed a claw, and the sharp claws drew an arc in the air. The pressure was impressive, and the terrifying power spread towards Su Yi's body. The golden weapons clashed, and the ear-piercing sound was ear-piercing. The terrifying energy was like a wave that reverberated in the stone room. A tornado-like energy ripple swept out from the collision between the claw and the blade. Rumble, gee! Under the gaze of Yang Ming and the few women, the 2 huge phantoms clashed violently. The wind blew and the clouds surged. Divine radiance surged. The stars on the heavenly star soul essence revolved, and the stars moved. Its divine essence was captivating, and the ancient aura of a golden dragon was attached to it. The spatial ripples surged like boiling water under the vibrations of the two. In the void above, sonic booms were endless. The golden dragon divine light and the purple demonic aura clashed and poured down like raindrops. The entire stone room shook under the huge impact. The mysterious woman's graceful body drew an arc in the air. Her heart was filled with astonishment. What is this brat doing? He can actually suppress my demonic aura. Damn it, if it wasn't for this damn taboo, he wouldn't be a match for me. On the other side, Yang Ming used all his demonic aura to protect Su Yi. But even so, Su Yi still suffered quite a bit of impact. Bang! Chapter 14:11. After stumbling a few steps, Su Yi managed to stop himself. He stared at the mysterious lady as blood flowed from the corner of his mouth. The sea of serene flame flowers had already stopped burning. Qian Shuang and Si Kongshang were nowhere to be seen. There was only a slender figure in front of the sea of flowers. She was looking at the stone room behind her with cold eyes. The aura of the golden dragon and my clan. I'm afraid it will be difficult for second sister to deal with this. Let sixth sister deal with this. Her bright and clear eyebrows revealed an unparalleled majesty, and her beautiful face revealed an almost undetectable poignant beauty. As soon as she finished speaking, she disappeared. Only the field of serene flame flowers that had not been completely burned were still shining with a mysterious light. It was extremely quiet in the stone room. Su Yi wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth and revealed a mysterious smile. Fortunately, Yang Ming had protected his body in time. In addition, he had already cultivated the primordial Yang heavenly dragon bone. Otherwise, it would be difficult to block the lady's attack. Barbaric demon beast? Su Yi thought to himself. It seemed that the mysterious demon ancestor realm woman was also very wary of his origin supreme art. Thus, he directly said, "Little sister, you're still more fun. Come, let's do it again." The mysterious lady did not show any weakness. Her primordial chi surged again. A 9th-level demon emperor realm martial artist and a 9th-level origin void realm martial artist were actually strenuous for her. When Big Sister returned, she would probably be laughed at. Then she smiled faintly. Her beautiful eyes sparkled as she adjusted her primordial chi. It was very charming. Then let's do it again. Let's see how many times you can last. As soon as she finished speaking, demonic chi surged from the soles of her feet. The huge shadow pounced towards Su Yi again. Seeing the mysterious lady's graceful figure pouncing towards him, Su Yi's deep eyes surged with a pure gold light. Then, he quickly leaped forward. Boom! Above the void, a clear and cold voice faintly sounded. Enough! Before he could react, the huge cat and Emperor Sparrow's figures quickly disappeared. Su Yi immediately felt the primordial chi in his great void divine sea stagnate. The Empress Sparrow's illusory figure rapidly shrank behind Su Yi and disappeared. Subsequently, an ancient, heavy, and otherworldly aura surged into Su Yi's soul, and he instantly felt extremely comfortable. In front of his chest, there was an extremely gentle force pushing him, gently supporting him to the ground. As soon as he exerted his strength, Su Yi was unexpectedly unable to circulate his yuan qi at all. Another huge spatial ripple spread out, and his robes fluttered in the wind. The light around Xiao Chun immediately dimmed. When he looked at the mysterious woman again, she was no longer there. On the other hand, Yang Ming couldn't help but retract his demonic qi as well, and his eyes were filled with shock as he stood stunned on the spot. Silence returned to the stone chamber. Inside the solemn stone chamber, there was only an old and fierce aura left. The fight just now was as illusory as a dream. Come out. If you can't win, you'll run. Su Yi gripped the sacred artifact tightly, and a sharp fluctuation quietly spread out. He swung it with all his might, and the sharp blade light was like a tide as it slashed towards the 9 statues. The piercingly cold saber radiance was only halfway there before it disappeared. Sui, a faint voice was heard in his mind. It was Ling Qianxue. Sui was shocked that Ling Qianxue had just fallen asleep. How could she have woken up so quickly? Qianxue, why are you awake? This place is so strange. Ling Qianxue saw that Sui was still swinging his saber radiance and quickly stopped him. Her voice was slightly trembling. Stop fighting. This is my clan's 9 spirits' altar. The yuan qi in Suyi's wide meridians suddenly stopped flowing. His heart was in turmoil, and he was extremely surprised by what Ling Qianxue said. Are you sure? Ling Qianxue closed her eyes slightly. Her beautiful face flashed with a hint of emotion as she nodded continuously. What Sui didn't know was that Ling Qianxue, who had woken up, was extremely shocked to see the stone chamber before her. Ling Qianxue couldn't believe that this was the 9 Spirits Lynx clan's altar. The 9 Lives Demon Cat was originally the descendant of the 9 Spirits Lynx. As the inheritance continued, it eventually evolved into the current 9 Lives Demon Cat. This place was exactly the same as what the clan elders had described. It was exactly the same as what they had imagined. The biggest statue should be the 9 Spirits Lynx's ancestor, Ling Lanin. Ling Qianxue calmed herself down as she suppressed the excitement within her. She carefully analyzed whether this was an environment or reality. If this was where the 9 Spirits Lynx was, it meant that her clan was still alive. Bang! A deafening explosion that sounded like thunder echoed through the entire stone chamber. It hit Sui and Yangming directly like a storm. At that moment, they activated the primordial chaos supreme technique with all their might. They activated the yuan qi in their bodies and barely managed to dodge the sudden attack. The ripple in the space had yet to dissipate completely. A silhouette walked out of the distorted ripple slowly. She looked like she was in her 20s. She had a slim waist and extremely long legs. She wore a long purple dress. Her black hair was like a waterfall, soft and smooth to her ears. There was a hint of coldness in her bright eyes. Her dense eyelashes fluttered like a feather fan. She seemed to be frowning. Her shoulders were slender and her waist was slim. There was a faint purple haze lingering around her. Sui had goosebumps from the demonic aura that shot into the sky. She was like a demonic immortal in the legends, cold and evil. Among the demon clan, there were either spirits, gods, ghosts, fox flames, or weak Een flames. There were divine lights, strange grasses, and strange trees. All of them were intelligent. Sui only knew then that there was such a beautiful lady in the world. One would not dare to look at her directly. Ancestor Lanin. Ling Qianxue covered her face and shouted. Her voice was shaking. She could not believe her eyes. Sui could feel that Ling Qianxue was crawling on the ground in his divine soul. She did not dare to move at all. The woman called Ling Lanin was like a fairy. She had white teeth and moon-like eyebrows, and her eyes were dazzling. Her cold gaze revealed a demonic aura as she looked at Sui with an appearance that didn't belong to this world. Sui was shocked by Ling Qianxue's respectful look. He was at a loss for words. Ling Lanin's beautiful mouth opened slightly, and an extremely cold and ethereal voice sounded out faintly. Have you woken up? As soon as she finished speaking, a stream of light burst out from between Ling Lanin's eyebrows and surrounded Suyi's head. The halo was like a blazing sun, crazily absorbing Suyi's soul. Ling Qianxue, who was in his soul, turned into a tiny dot of light and was sucked out of Suyi's body along with the light wave. Whoosh! When Sui came back to his senses, Ling Qianxue was already crawling and kneeling beside Sui. She lowered her head and looked in Ling Lanin's direction. Her eyes were full of respect. Qianxue, you're out. What surprised Sui even more was that Ling Qianxue's aura was still very weak, but her figure was gradually solidifying. Like the little girl and the mysterious lady, she was very real. Ling Qianxue did not dare to answer Suyi's question. She frowned and bowed to Ling Lanin. Chapter 14:12. Ling Qinshue's chest that was standing proudly was moving up and down. Su-yi could clearly feel the fear in Ling Qinshue's heart. Looking at the arrangement of the statues in the stone room and the situation before them, he and Ling Qinsue had really broken into the spiritual cat's altar. A few breaths later, Ling Lanin looked at Ling Qinsue. Her voice was still cold, but her expression had softened a little. An unnoticeable pain flashed through her eyes. "You're the only one left." Ling Qinsue clenched her fists tightly as she recalled the massacre of the Nine Lives Cat Demon Clan. Her beautiful face was covered in tears. "Ancestor, the Nine Lives Cat Demon Clan is all dead." Ling Lanin's eyes dimmed. There was a hint of coldness in her gloomy eyes. She closed her eyes tightly as if she was recalling the past. "The Nine Lives Cat Demon Clan is a branch of the Nine Spiritual Links. Now that the entire clan is dead, it's lonely for you to be left alone in this world. Come with me and tell me everything." Ling Lanin's eyes froze as she spoke. The demonic aura around her flowed. There was no overbearing aura that filled heaven and earth. It was gentle and windless. It wrapped around Su-yi and Ling Qinsue gently. Su-yi's vision suddenly became clear. A purple demonic glow floated through Su-yi's heart like a whirlpool. It was like a giant tornado that stirred in Su-yi's heart for a long time. So powerful. She's definitely the most powerful opponent that I've encountered so far. Su-yi was secretly surprised. He tried to sense Ling Lanin's cultivation base with his soul, but he felt as if his spiritual power had fallen into the depths of the ocean. He was like a drifting boat that had nowhere to land. He was shocked. As he thought about it, Su-yi and Ling Qinsue were already in a dense forest when he opened his eyes again. The cloud-top ancient tree was right in the middle. The ancient tree towered into the sky with its intertwined roots. Its gigantic roots were like dragons spiraling up into the sky. Meanwhile, the center of the giant tree had been hollowed out. A fiery red egg was rising from it, emitting a powerful demonic aura. It was oppressive and majestic. Su-yi trembled slightly. Could this be the great demon that was about to be born? At this moment, Ling Lanin and 4 other women were standing under the tree. Every single one of them had a graceful figure and a graceful bearing. Each of them had their own merits, and they were all looking at him affectionately. Su-yi was momentarily dazzled by the sight. These women were a little too beautiful, weren't they? Amidst her sweet laughter, the atmosphere was dense, so beautiful that it was unreal. Su-yi felt as if he had fallen into the clouds. The mysterious woman just now was also among them. She was beautiful and charming. She was looking at him and Ling Qinsue leisurely. Ling Qinsue led Su-yi to the bottom of the cloud-top ancient tree with heavy footsteps. She bowed to Ling Lanin and the other ladies slowly and sincerely. Ling Lanin's back was facing Su-yi. She didn't turn around. Ling Qinsue introduced them to Su-yi softly. These were the ancestors of the 9 spirit links. The 9 spirit links was formed by the few exalted gods before him back then. Compared to the number of tails behind the ladies, Su-yi immediately understood that the number of tails determined their different positions in the Lynx tribe. Ling Lanin had 9 tails. She was the founding ancestor, the largest 9 spirit links born from heaven and earth. The mysterious woman next to her smiled seductively when she saw Su-yi. The 8 tails behind her were wagging. She was overjoyed. There was another lady behind the mysterious woman. She was about the same age as Ling Lanin and the mysterious woman, but her aura was poles apart. She had a gentle temperament. Her black hair was tied behind her head. She nodded at Su-yi and Ling Qinsue. She had a faint smile with dimples on her face. She looked very elegant. Next to the gentle lady was a pair of sisters who were dressed very similarly. They had a pair of watery eyes that looked very cute. However, they looked away when they met Su-yi's eyes. "Stupid man." "Me." Su-yi was furious. Just when he was going to talk back, he looked at Ling Lanin before him and stopped talking. She was someone who was in the same generation as the golden winged Dapeng and the old dragon. He dared not be presumptuous. Ling Lanin was staring at the demon egg in front of the tree, speechlessly. She did not move for a long time as if she was still. He stopped talking at that moment. He was secretly cursing the sisters. Ling Qianxue continued speaking to Yi softly. Yi, don't be presumptuous. The one in front is the founding ancestor of the 9 Lives cat demon, Ancestor Lanin. The one who fought with you is the second founding ancestor of the 9 spirit links, Ancestor Marvelous Sound. The 9 spirit links referred to Ling Lanin, the largest 9-tailed cat god in heaven and earth. It also symbolized the 9-tailed founding ancestor of the Lynx tribe, so it was called the 9 spirits. After that, Ling Qianxue pointed at the gentle woman and introduced, this should be the 3rd primogenitor, Ling Shuangyin. Behind her are the 4 or 5 primogenitors, Ling Jin and Ling Ruoyin. Yi was shocked. According to the introduction, this was the headquarters of the spiritual cat tribe. The 9 founding ancestors were all here. Yi could not help but wonder why he only saw 5 founding ancestors. The rest were nowhere to be seen. Just when Yi was about to speak, a small figure jumped down from the giant tree. Yi saw that it was the mysterious little girl from before. He had a headache. Bad boy, what are you looking at? I'm also a founding ancestor. My name is Ling Muin. He looked at the founding ancestors in front of him. They did not seem to be easy to deal with. They did not seem to want to talk to him, so he could only joke with the little girl. Thinking that even this little girl was a founding ancestor, it seemed that the strength of these 9 could not be underestimated. He just did not know that their strength was suppressed to such an extent. You're called Ling Muin? That's a nice name. Yeah, the injury on your head healed so quickly. He saw that the little girl's forehead had already recovered its shine. The burn marks from before had also become smooth. There was no trace of a burn mark at all. You still dare to say that? If Big Sister did not treat me first, how could I recover so quickly? If I'm disfigured, I won't let you off. So what if you know how to play with fire? Ling Muin pouted. She was still a little angry. Looking at Yi, she was a little angry. Yi helplessly spread out his hands and did not say anything else. He looked around, but did not see Yang Ming's figure. Ling Muin blinked her cute big eyes and skipped over to Yi. Bad boy, what bad ideas are you thinking of now? Everyone here is my people. Be careful. Ling Qianxue seemed to have seen through Yi's thoughts. She transmitted her voice to Yi's ears with Yuan Qi. Don't worry, Yang Ming should have been sent out by the founding ancestor. There are too many restrictions here. Random people should not be able to casually come in. He suddenly understood. It seemed that his worries were a little unnecessary. Thinking back to the question just now, he did not see the other founding ancestors. He quietly pulled Ling Muin to the side and asked softly, Founding Ancestor Muin, let me ask you a question. Ling Muin's eyes were filled with joy. She was a little surprised to be called so respectfully by Yi. She raised her head proudly and said, You're right. Chapter 14:13. Yi did not beat around the bush and directly asked the little chubby girl, Why do I only see the 6 ancestors here? Where are the others? After Ling Muin heard that, she used her little finger to touch her chin. She looked up and then looked at the purple clouds in the sky. She pouted her little mouth and said vividly, 6th sister went to clean up the serene flame flower field. All right, I remember now. Are you the one who set the fire? Great. You arsonist. Not only did you burn me, you even dare to burn our serene flame flower field. You are really too much. Oomph. Ling Muin stomped her little foot and said heavily. The more she said, the angrier she got. She reached out to hit Yi. From bottom to top, she was only as tall as Yi and was extremely cute. Yi quickly waved his hand and kept retreating. He looked anxiously in Ling Lanin's direction. Seeing that Ling Lanin still did not turn back, he let out a long sigh of relief. With a bitter expression, he immediately explained, How would I dare to set the fire? It has nothing to do with me. In his heart, he was already cursing that crazy person, Sikong Shang. Not only did he eat the flowers, he even made him a scapegoat. Oomph, there's no truth in your mouth. I don't believe you. I will let Big Sister ask you properly later. After hearing that, Su-yi looked curiously at the beautiful women in front of him. They were all standing respectfully behind Ling Lanin. The atmosphere was still very cold. Su-yi did not dare to say anything else and remained silent. The purple clouds lingered and dyed the distant mountains with a layer of pink. The soaring demonic aura was loud and noisy, and the multicolored light was boundless. The fiery red egg and the light purple eye complemented each other, illuminating the sky and earth with a scarlet red color. Su-yi thought to himself, it seemed that since entering the sky prison mountain range until now, this was the real demonic aura forest. The Heaven Domain Peak was actually connected to the Hoku Canyon. Within the Hoku Canyon was the 9 spirits, sacrificial altar, and the demonic aura forest. The huge wooden pipe and the darkness from before seemed to be a trick set up by Ling Lanin. Su-yi, who was a little confused, finally cleared up a little. Hearing the discussion of the primogenital ladies during the battle, Su-yi had some doubts in his heart. They said that their Emperor Sparrow is similar to the big monster that Ling Lanin brought back. Could it be that the Emperor Sparrow also has the bloodline of the Phoenix clan? Or could it be that the big monster is handsome Su who hasn't shown up for a long time? Su-yi immediately dismissed the idea. He had been separated from little handsome Su in the barbarian demon forest. He had gone through a lot of hardships and was brought to the chaos realm by Su Chen's innate thunderbody. How could little handsome Su have come here? At that time, Su Tianke was just a weakling with a pair of small wings. He didn't have this kind of ability. Ling Muin saw that Su-yi was deep in thought and felt a little bored. Thus, she put her hand to her mouth and said mysteriously to Su-yi, "Let me tell you, 7th sister and 8th sister are going." Ling Miaoyin was on alert. She frowned and stared hard at Ling Muin. She rebuked, "9th sister, are you that bored? Why aren't you going to cultivate?" "Pass." Ling Muin made a little face at Ling Miaoyin and looked at Ling Lanin with a guilty conscience. She said cutely to her big sister, "Then, big sister, I'll be going first. You have to be good." Ling Lanin's beautiful eyes drooped slightly. They were as deep as the starry sky, boundless and endless. She made a gesture to the primogenitors behind her. Her cold face was lifeless as she faintly left behind sentence, "All you can leave. Let the 2 of them stay," Ling Lanin said to the 9 spirit primogenitors behind her. At the same time, she said to Ling Miaoyin, "Second brother, you stay?" "Yes." Ling Miaoyin glanced at Su-yi and Ling Chinchua lightly and said in a low voice. Then everyone bowed to Ling Lanin. Ling Shuangyin and Ling Jin looked at the scene with solemn expressions. Suddenly, demonic chi rose around them. Whoosh! A violent demonic wind blew and set off a series of violent spatial ripples in the air. The few ladies moved gracefully. With a flash of demonic chi, a few purple clouds drifted away, and their figures disappeared on the spot. In an instant, the entire demonic chi forest became even quieter. One could hear a pin drop. In the demonic chi forest, only Ling Lanin, Su-yi, and the rest were left. The slightly bored Ling Miaoyin kept making circles with one hand. Her eyes were filled with emotions as she kept looking at Su-yi like a seductive cat. This caused Su-yi's mouth to turn dry. Su-yi immediately circulated his heavenly essence demon soul and stabilized his primordial spirit. He no longer looked at Ling Miaoyin and immediately felt much better. What a powerful seduction skill. It's so much more powerful than Yin Ming. Meanwhile, Ling Miaoyin, who was standing aside, saw that Su-yi was refreshed and no longer had any doubts. Surprise flashed through her eyes, and her gaze turned cold. Ling Lanin still did not turn her head as she spoke softly. "He managed to see through our 9 spirit lynx's hiding technique and heard you guys talking. That's enough to prove that he's extraordinary. Second sister, you should know that this brat's soul talent is shocking." Ling Miaoyin rolled her eyes and said softly to Ling Lanin's back, "I just wanted to test this brat. I don't believe that he's as powerful as the old guy said." Ling Lanin waved her hand softly and turned around slowly, revealing her beautiful and cold face. Ling Miaoying was respectful immediately. She pursed her lips tightly and said nothing at that moment. "All right, go and bring that person up here. Also, check on Sixth Sister." Ling Miaoying withdrew her demonic qi and hummed softly. Her demonic qi transformed and disappeared into the wind instantly. After Ling Miaoying disappeared, Ling Laning closed the giant tree on top of the cloud. The demonic qi that shot into the sky was withdrawn at that moment, leaving a faint purple demonic glow that flowed around Ling Laning like smoke. A lone bird flew by in the sky, hovering alone in the purple clouds that filled the sky. The demonic qi forest underneath was extremely quiet, and the murderous atmosphere was spine-chilling. Ling Qinxue, who was standing aside, looked at the scenery around her. It felt like a lifetime ago, but it was extremely familiar. She could not help but tear up. Does it feel familiar? The place you're staying at should be built like this. Ling Laning's voice was like a breeze. There was strength in her softness. Hearing that, Ling Qinxue turned her head and nodded hard at Ling Laning. She then bowed again. "Ancestor Laning, what exactly is going on? Grandma Wanin told me a long time ago when she taught me the methods that our main 9-spirit meridian has been cut off. There's no more 9-spirit links in this world. Why would it be here?" Ling Wanin was Ling Qinshue's grandmother. She had raised Ling Qinxue since she was young. She was also the clan leader of the 9 Lives Cat Demon in the barbaric demon forest. However, she was sacrificed in the battle where her entire clan was massacred. Chapter 14:14. Su-yi looked at the unconcealable sadness on Ling Qinshue's face, and his heart ached. How could Su-yi not know that day when the Su family was destroyed? Then, Ling Qinxue told Ling Laning about how she survived alone in the savage demon forest for a few years, how she was chased by the ice and fire double-headed demon snake, and how she used the explosion of her gold core to survive in Su-yi's body. Most of the anecdotes with Su-yi were left out. Ling Laning listened to Ling Qinshue's detailed narration, and her eyes fluctuated several times. When she heard about the explosion of her gold core, her heart ached even more, but there was a flash of secret light in her eyes. She nodded and told Ling Qinshuo that she already knew everything, and told Ling Qinshuo to collect her emotions. From now on, this was her home. Then, Ling Laning turned to look at Su-yi. Her face was as cold as the coldest winter, and her aura was terrifying. "You were the one who brought Qinshu in. She has the bloodline of my 9 Spirits clan. You have done me a favor, but the people who came with you burned my serene flame flower field, destroyed my concealment array, and almost ruined everything. You will suffer for them." After saying that, Ling Laning's amber eyes immediately surged with blood. She was cold and ruthless. For a time, demonic aura filled the air, and the weather changed. The purple demonic aura that filled the sky was like a whistling tornado, and the aura was incomparably powerful. It was as if it had come from the ancient times, suppressing heaven and earth, causing Su-yi to feel as if he had fallen into an ice cave. The powerful aura was like a steel giant beast, directly suppressing Su-yi. In the demonic forest, energy surged, and the earth trembled. Bang, bang, bang. In just a glance, there were countless sonic booms between Ling Laning and Su-yi, resounding endlessly, causing people to tense up for no reason. In the distant mountains, a low, beastly roar could be heard. A small figure in the distance had a serious expression. It was Ling Muyin. In the blink of an eye, she was captured by the other sisters. Ling Qinshuo was extremely weak. Her beautiful figure staggered back again, and her expression was extremely serious. He was so frightened by this incomparably huge aura that he prostrated himself on the ground and begged repeatedly. Qinshuo begs Ancestor Lanin to let Su-yi go. The serene flame flower field wasn't something that Su-yi did intentionally. Moreover, he is also my savior. However, Ling Lanin turned a deaf ear to his words. She still didn't stop, and light filled the air around her. The twisted demon aura force couldn't help but twist violently, and the space ripples suddenly became distorted. Su-yi, who was in the middle of it, felt even more uncomfortable, but his arrogance rose spontaneously. He clenched his fists and gritted his teeth. There was an unyielding look on his face. His eyes were burning like flames, filled with blood, but he did not back down. Ling Lanin's face was expressionless as she lightly opened her mouth and faintly spat out 2 words. Very good. As Ling Lanin's voice fell, the surroundings exploded once again. An incomparably gloomy and cold aura filled the air. Purple light soared into the sky, and the surrounding trees began to explode one after another. Ding ding. The violent wind directly blew Ling Qinxue up. Her beautiful face was already ghastly pale, and her eyes were filled with tears. She didn't know what to do. Looking at Su-yi again, under his smooth skin, there was a faint light that overflowed and flickered. It was like a divine rune that tightly wrapped around Su-yi. Su-yi's eyes stared fiercely at Ling Lani. He only felt that the yuan qi in his wide meridians seemed to have stagnated. Su-yi's heart was heavy. He immediately decided not to use his yuan qi to forcefully break through Ling Lanin's control. Looking at Ling Lanin's bewitching amber eyes, Su-yi felt what it was like to have thousands of knives cutting his heart. It was extremely uncomfortable. That pair of eyes is strange, Su-yi exclaimed. Immediately, he gave up on struggling and fully circulated the Origin Supreme technique. At the same time, he circulated the Heaven Origin Demon Soul to the extreme. In the blink of an eye, low-energy muffled sounds came from Su-yi's body, and light illuminated the void. Roar! Suddenly, Su-yi's body was covered in pure gold. The mysterious light in his body seemed to have been summoned by Ling Lanin's ancient aura. Immediately, light shone brightly, and new energy was born in Su-yi's body. Wrapped in the mysterious light was Su-yi's Heaven Origin Demon Soul. It was like a small, blazing sun, emitting a scorching light. Above it, the shadow of a golden dragon flashed and moved, eager to give it a try. The golden dragon's shadow illuminated Su-yi's somewhat drowsy spirit sea in pure gold. It was like a divine light, and immediately, Su-yi became extremely awake. In an instant, a beam of light shot out from Su-yi's forehead. His hands and elbows were faintly covered in golden light, and faint dragon patterns were embellished on them. Su-yi's hair fluttered in the wind. Like a god? Ordinary. The beam of light that shot out carried incomparable power, as if a golden dragon was born. It let out a loud dragon roar in the air, causing the surroundings to explode inch by inch. In an instant, a trace of white light flashed in the purple demonic aura. The purple demonic aura surged in a monstrous white light. It was like a living creature, twisting and turning nonstop. Above the white light, there seemed to be a golden dragon's shadow looming, causing the void to tremble. Bang! Ling Lanin's eyes lit up again, and the purple demonic aura seemed to have increased by 2 times. The purple demonic aura erupted like a volcano, and once again, it suppressed the white light. Excellent soul, golden dragon's aura, invincible physical body, mysterious power, Ling Lanin said softly in her heart. She recognized all of Su-yi's trump cards in one move, but her hand still didn't stop. She pointed at Su-yi in the air. An extremely strange purple storm suddenly appeared. Energy surged in all directions, and a peerlessly violent and domineering might instantly shatter the space. Bang! The skyrocketing purple demonic aura and the white light suddenly collided in the void. The light was dazzling, and the sound of the explosion resounded through the universe. In the next moment, the energy from the collision was like a cannonball, and it directly hit Su-yi's body. Su-yi, who was restrained, couldn't avoid it. He directly shot down from a low altitude and violently crashed into the tree behind him. The huge tree root cracked, and Su-yi was also hit until he saw stars. After a while, he staggered up from the ground. The wind stopped, and Ling Lanin waved her hand gently. The entire demonic aura forest once again returned to its original state, and there were no traces of fighting. Seeing Su Yi fall heavily on the ground, Ling Qianxue immediately channeled her demonic aura and helped Su Yi up like a gust of wind. After checking, she found that Su Yi wasn't seriously injured and only had some superficial injuries. She immediately let out a sigh of relief. "He's tougher than you. I've already shown mercy. This is a small punishment," Ling Lanin said faintly from afar. Hearing that, Ling Qianxue hurriedly knelt on the ground and thanked her. Su Yi helped Ling Qianxue up and wiped the blood from his mouth. His eyes were full of anger. Fortunately, his physical body was no longer what it used to be. With the body of Vajra and the Yuanyang Sky Dragon Bone, his physical strength had long been stronger than the average supremes of the barbarians. Chapter 14-15. Su Yi secretly sighed. As expected, his ability was nothing before a true powerhouse. He could not even fight back. If he had such an ability, he would be able to do whatever he wanted. Su Yi helped Ling Qianxue up and gently wiped away the tears on Ling Qianxue's face. He looked at Ling Lanin without fear. "Qianxue, don't beg her. She would have killed me if she wanted to kill me. She wouldn't have let us come here." Ling Qianxue looked at Su Yi with her lips tightly shut. She sounded anxious, signaling Su Yi to stop talking. Su Yi's heart melted like spring water as he looked at Ling Qianxue. The wounds on his body seemed to be mostly healed. Ling Lanin looked at Su Yi with a smirk at the corner of her lips. "The demon forest is my 9-spirit lynx's secret place. You humans have broken in. I was thinking of trapping you guys with a hiding technique, but you exceeded my expectations. You managed to come here with Qianxue's energy. Everything that happened later proved that you're indeed extraordinary." Ling Qianxue could tell from Ling Lanin's words that she would not kill Su Yi, so she stepped aside. Su Yi smirked. "You didn't expect me to have the Golden Dragon's aura and the ability to affect your demon aura, did you?" Knowing that he was no match for Ling Lanin, Su Yi did not care. He told Ling Lanin what he thought loudly. The primordial chaos supreme technique could affect the 9-spirit lynx too. Su Yi knew about it and used it to his advantage. That was why he dared to fight Ling meowing fearlessly. Everything went smoothly. "You're really smart. There's indeed an unfathomable energy in your body. I can sense it. To be honest, I'm curious about you. That's why I won't kill you." Ling Lanin frowned coldly. She seemed to have something that she did not say. Hearing this, Su Yi's mind cleared up and he hurriedly probed. The people in the serene flame flower field didn't do it on purpose. Ling Lanin naturally knew Su Yi's intention. He was afraid that she would kill Xian Shuang, Chen Chuan, and the others if she didn't like it. That Sanyan Hall was her ally. It was best that nothing happened to them. "I know everything that has happened since you entered this place. I've already chased all of those people away and stripped their memories." When Su Yi heard this, he secretly relaxed. So this old demon had already arranged everything. She even attacked him just now to force out his mysterious ball of light. It was true that killing them was as easy as flipping her hand for Ling Lanin, but it was also meaningless. "Damn it," Su Yi muttered. Ling Lanin's transcendent face suddenly flashed with a trace of coldness. Her gaze was incomparably charming, as if countless ants were crawling onto Su Yi's body. "You? What did you just say about me?" Immediately, a graceful figure appeared in front of Su Yi's eyes. Her faintly discernible waist was like a swimming snake in the void. The 2 snow-white lumps on her plump chest were enchanting and dreamy. The boundless wind and moon made Su Yi's blood rush to his head. Cough, cough. Su Yi cursed inwardly. This old demon was actually using her seduction technique on him. It was too sudden and too seductive. Su Yi, who had lived 2 lives, couldn't help but secretly scold himself. How was this falling into a spirit cat's nest? It was simply a fox's cave. Each and every one of their charming techniques was frightening. Fortunately, Ling Qianxue had already turned over a new leaf. Otherwise, he would be suffering every day. This was even more uncomfortable than Ling Qianxue directly punching him twice. Su immediately activated the heaven origin demon soul with all his strength. He muttered the art of controlling the heavens in his mouth, and his restless mind gradually calmed down. Su let out a long sigh of relief and slowly wiped the large beads of sweat on his forehead. Ling Lanin, who was as beautiful as snow, smirked faintly. She was secretly delighted. Old demon, who told you to spout nonsense? Naturally, Su naturally had no idea that Ling Lanin was doing this on purpose. Ling Qianxue, who was standing aside, did not notice Su Yi's odd behavior at all. She stared blankly at Ling Lanin and the demon forest as if she was in a dream. A moment later, Su Yi's eyes trembled. The 9 spirit links had lived for too long. Perhaps it knew where he came from. Do you know where the energy in my body came from? Ling Lanin composed herself and returned to her cold self from before. She shook her head lightly. Suddenly, she waved her big sleeve, and the giant tree on top of the cloud opened again. The egg inside was even redder, while demonic energy shot up from the ground. Ling Lanin looked at Su Yi and spoke softly while pointing at the egg. This is the second reason why I didn't kill you. Ever since you entered the demon forest, it was this old guy who asked me to let you in. Something flashed through Ling Lanin's eyes. If it were not for the old guy's request, how could Su Yi and Ling Qianxue's insignificant ability break through her concealment? Ling Qianxue remained silent at the side. Su Yi, on the other hand, was suddenly enlightened. He and Ling Qianxue looked at each other because this egg was most likely the Su Tianke that they both knew. So it's really Su Tianke? Su Yi's eyes burned with uncontrollable excitement. Su Tianke was actually Su Yi's first helper since the beginning. He was a good brother who risked his life for Su Yi without asking for anything in return. Su Tianke had also mentioned that he was close to the 9-spirit heavenly cat. In Su Yi's memory, Su Tianke was the only mythical bird that could say that. In the beginning, Su Tianke was just a weakling who flapped his wings and called him, Master K, you've offended me. He had a fearless image that made it hard for anyone to believe that he was Peacock. As Su Yi thought about it, his voice choked with emotion. He had been in a trance for more than a year, almost 2 years. Even Ling Qianxue, who had self-destructed her gold core, had returned. Su Tianke should be back too. Brother, you're back. Su Yi looked at the rising demonic aura that was quietly growing in the giant tree. Ling Lanin looked at Su Yi's appearance with compassion in her eyes. She thought to herself that this old guy could have such a relationship with Su Yi. Back in the day, Ling Lanin recalled that the peacock was the most ferocious fighting force of the Phoenix bloodline. If it was enraged, it could burn down the wilderness and exterminate a small country. It actually had such a deep friendship with a little brat. It was really unheard of and unseen. His name is Su Tianke. This old guy still remembers his stupid name even after losing his memory. Ling Lanin looked at the egg and was in a daze, thinking about the past. Su Yi smiled faintly, and a drop of hot tear fell from the corner of his eye. Su Yi had never felt such excitement before. Chapter 14:16. Su Yi was the only one who knew what Su Tianke meant to him. Even though he had forsaken his friendship with Su Tianke had still turned back to save him without hesitation. Only Su Yi knew that Su Tianke had never forgotten his mission. He was a peacock. Even though he had lost his memory and couldn't remember anything, he still remembered one thing. He was a peacock, a supreme being who looked down on the world. Su Yi, you don't seem to be as strong as Su Tianke in this aspect. Su Yi sighed in his heart. After getting confirmation, Su Yi stared blankly at the egg, which was filled with fiery red demonic aura. As for Ling Qianxue, who was standing by the side, her incomparably charming face was also slightly moved. What she didn't expect was that the original chicken was actually a peacock. She had a close relationship with Su Yi, and a large part of the reason was that Su Tianke had sacrificed himself to save him. Ling Qianxue couldn't help but feel a little sad when she saw Su Yi looking a little sad. Ling Lanin looked at Su Tianke, who was still emitting demonic aura, and her eyes were filled with sadness. She calmed herself down and said faintly, "Did you find him in an extremely hot place?" Her voice was trembling. Ling Lanin's face was no longer cold to such an old friend, and the corner of her beautiful mouth twitched slightly. Su Yi nodded slightly. He recalled that he had found Su Tianke in the form of a chicken in an underground volcano in the barbaric demon forest. Su Tianke had lost his memory and was very muddle-headed at that time. After listening to Su Yi's recount, Ling Lanin closed her eyes and took a deep breath. During the great calamity back then, he opened a crack in time for me and allowed me to return here. I thought he had fallen into the Scarlet Sea, the Spirit Ocean. This sentence contained a huge amount of information. Ling Qianxue's previous expectations were confirmed. Ling Qianxue couldn't help but ask when she heard the word return. Ling Lanin's amber eyes were burning with a scorching light, as if she was once again in extreme horror. I lost too many memories during the great calamity. I only remember that we were forced into the Scarlet Sea. I told him I wanted to go home, and he burned the last bit of his blood essence to open a crack in the world for me. Ling Lanin's eyes were filled with tears. At the same time, she was very excited. She pursed her lips tightly. I didn't expect this old guy to still be alive. The golden dragon is still alive. Looking at Ling Qianxue's puzzled face, Ling Lanin patted Ling Qianxue's shoulder. Suddenly, the orchid wind went straight into Su Yi and Ling Qianxue's hearts. Immediately, a chaotic sphere appeared in their hearts. During the ancient times this is the only memory I have left in my mind. Take a good look at it. Su Yi and Ling Qianxue looked at the chaos in the sea of consciousness. Looking carefully, they couldn't help but be shocked. It turned out that during the ancient era, the Chaos region and the barbaric demon forest were one entity. The 6 continents, 3 continents, and 1 ocean were all connected into one entity. There was no endless sky-sea region. After Ling Lanin's narration, for some unknown reason, everything was gone. There was a huge explosion in the entire chaotic world. In that earth-shattering explosion, countless gods perished. When the ancient times ended, they thought there were no more gods in the world. They didn't expect that Su Yi would give them such great hope. Su Yi and Ling Qianxue were still in shock. Ling Lanin knew that no one would believe such a change. But what made Ling Lanin regretful was that after that explosion, her memories of everything seemed to have been taken away. She couldn't remember anything. She only had the scattered memories of the spiritual feather. Looking at the demon egg before her, Ling Lanin's voice could not stop shaking. She told Su Yi that she had been hiding here with the 9 Spirits clan to recuperate. A while ago, there was a strange color in the sky. The demonic demon forest space rule became very strange. Loopholes kept appearing everywhere. One day, a giant bird fell from the sky. It was very weak. Ling Lanin recognized it. It was Brother Peacock who had saved her back then. She had a load on her mind. In the demonic demon forest, the purple glow covered the entire heaven and earth like a veil. It was extremely beautiful and dazzling. Bang! A loud noise came from the giant tree on top of the cloud. The entire tree was burning, and the fire spread with the wind. Who's that? Apart from Ling Lanin, the rest looked at the burning sea of fire with fear. For a long time, no living being could break into the demonic demon forest. Without their sister's protection, they could not fight against any external forces as remnant souls. 9 spirits links. A gigantic silhouette lay weakly on a branch that looked like a dragon. The giant tree that looked like a cloud happened to hold the mythical bird's gigantic silhouette in its hand. Shock flashed through its ferocious eyes. 9th sister, informed sister now. Just when Ling Muin's tiny body was about to turn around, a purple demonic glow shot out like lightning. I'm here. It was Ling Lanin who had heard the news. The 2 gigantic silhouettes were confronting each other. The mythical bird and the cat beast did not fight fiercely. Instead, they were affectionate. Brother Tianke. The weak mythical bird was Su Tianke, whom Su Yi was familiar with. Su Tianke was panting loudly. His weak aura shook the entire demonic demon forest. Is my name Tianke? I don't remember. Who are you? I'm Lanin. Ling Lanin was confused. She was sad as she looked at the weak Su Tianke. It turned out that both of them could not remember anything. Perhaps their injuries were even more serious. I seem to be close to you. Can you promise me two things? Su Tiang's eyes were unfocused, as if he was going to fall asleep at any time. However, he still looked at Ling Lanin with anticipation. Ling Lanin agreed without hesitation. She told Su Yi that Su Tianke told her that he was badly injured. He was seriously injured and urgently needed to recover. His first request was to borrow the power of his demonic chi forest. Demonic chi filled the air here, and the spiritual energy of heaven and earth was abundant. His second request was that he sensed a human named Su Yi entering this magical secret zone. He asked her to protect Su Yi. Why are you so nice to a human? Ling Lanin was confused at the time and asked. Su Tianke collapsed between the giant tree. The scorching aura was hollowing out the giant tree. Su Tianke turned into an egg amidst the crimson light that filled the sky. He only said one thing during this process. Chapter 14:17. Su Yi's blood rushed to his head when he heard that. Two streams of blood flowed out of his eyes. Su Yi clenched his fists as he watched the fiery aura rising continuously from the giant tree. We're brothers. We're brothers. Su Yi, who had painstakingly built the Overlord sect and had seen through the myriad facets of the world, was still able to hear such touching and heartfelt words. He was instantly moved. Ancestor Lanin, do you know who hurt Su Tianke? Su Yi looked at Ling Lanin, who was next to him, with a pained expression. Ling Lanin paused for a moment, and a sigh could be seen on her beautiful face. Both him and I are greatly restricted. I think he has to cultivate from the beginning. Although I don't know who hurt him, it's not someone you can fight against now. Su Yi felt as if he had been electrocuted. He did not know how to answer her. But don't be too discouraged. Not many people admire Tianke in his life. Even if he has lost his memory, he's still proud and aloof. You must be extraordinary to be able to take your surname and treat you as his brother. That's why I want to test you. Su Yi smiled when he heard that. He felt refreshed. He was the Emperor Sparrow's descendant, the Peacock's brother, the Phoenix's big brother, the Rock's trustee, and the Golden Dragon's trustworthy person. How many people in the world had such luck? Even the 9 Spiritual Lynx's clan was wary of him because of the Origin's supreme technique. He was filled with pride at once. He looked at Su Tianke, who was quiet in the distance with a burning gaze. His eyes were as deep as a lake. Brother, no matter who hurt you, I'll take revenge with you. Don't worry. Su Yi's temperament suddenly changed greatly. He was confident but not arrogant. He was fearless in the face of danger and had an invincible attitude. Reaching the peak of the supreme martial artist and possessing the strongest power was no longer something he needed. It was a promise to his brother. He faintly exuded an extremely powerful aura. Interesting. The old man didn't misjudge him. Ling Lanin glanced sideways. Her imposing face was slightly moved. Looking at the high-spirited Su Yi, a glimmer of hope flashed in Ling Lanin's heart. Her eyes flickered. Perhaps this kid was the one she had been waiting for all these years. Purple clouds floated in the distance, and a small figure appeared in the faintly discernible mountain range. At first, it was still very small. In less than a breath's time, a graceful figure appeared in front of Su Yi's eyes. It was Ling Miaoyin who had left and returned. Her slender figure wandered in the distance with light steps, and the dimples at the corners of her mouth were faintly visible. The moment she saw Su Yi, her cold eyebrows immediately curved into a crescent moon. Her cloud-like robe was gently covering half of her face, making her look extremely flirtatious. When Su Yi and Ling Miaoyin's eyes met, their minds were thrown into disarray. Just as he was about to look away and stop looking at Ling Miaoyin, He was surprised to find that Ling Miaoyin was holding a skinny old man in her right hand. The skinny old man was unconscious, and it was unknown whether he was dead or alive. Blood flowed from the corner of his mouth, and his hands were dragged on the ground as if they were boneless. "Elder Tang Wang!" Su immediately exclaimed in shock. It turned out that the person being dragged on the ground by Ling Miaoyin was none other than Elder Tang Wang, who had come in with her. Looking at the severely injured Elder Tang Wang, Su Yi thought to himself. Su Yi had already experienced Ling Miaoyin's strength. Su Yi knew that Ling Miaoyin definitely did not have the ability to subdue Tang Wang. Obviously, Tang Wang had suffered an extremely serious blow from Ling Miaoyin. Otherwise, with his origin ancestor cultivation, he would not have suffered such serious injuries. He immediately understood why Si Kong Shang, Elder Xin Shuang, and Su Yi had already encountered Elder Tang Wang, but he had not seen any trace of him. It turned out that he had fallen into Ling Miaoyin's hands. What made Su Yi's heart freeze was that even Si Kong Shang, Xian Shuang, and the rest, who had burned the serene flame flower field, Ling Miaoyin had already chosen to erase their memories. Why was she still holding on to Elder Tang Wang, who had done nothing? Su Yi frowned slightly as he looked at Ling Miaoyin's cold face. The corners of his mouth curled up slightly as a bad premonition surged in his heart. "Ancestor Lanin, what is the meaning of this?" Ling Lanin looked at Elder Tang Wang, who was being carried by Ling Miaoyin as she walked over. She seemed to be speaking softly. "You know him?" Su Yi nodded slightly and told Ling Miaoyin that this was his ally for this trip. He wanted Ling Miaoyin to tell him why she wanted to kill Tang Wang and what he had done wrong. Tang Wang had also risked his life to save Su Yi twice. This trip to Thunder Valley was also under Chen Yao's orders. Su Yi knew Tang Wang's temperament very well. He was like a wild crane, a carefree cloud, and valued friendship and loyalty. This time, Tang Wang had already done his best. He had repeatedly promised that Su Yi's life would not be in danger in the Nine Stars Valley, and had even taken the initiative to take on the heavy responsibility of accompanying the Bawang sect into the valley. Thinking of this, Su Yi's heart was filled with anger. What was the difference between this and stepping on the Bawang sect's face? If Ling Miaoyin could not give him a satisfactory answer, he would not give up even if he had to die. Slowly, Ling Miaoyin threw Tang Wang in front of her. Ling Miaoyin looked at Tang Wang, who was lying on the ground with a frosty gaze. It was like a sharp sword that wanted to pierce through Tang Wang at any moment, as if there was a blood feud between them. "He has the power of the stars. He from the Nine Stars Valley?" Su Yi nodded slightly. Could it be that this old demon did not like the people from the Nine Stars Valley? That's enough. Even if he's your ally, he won't be able to survive this time. Ling Miaoyin's lips parted slightly. Her eyes were cold, and the demonic aura around her suddenly surged. The big purple hand was like a sharp claw with a strong suction force. Immediately, Tang Wang, who was lying on the ground, was pulled over. Under the control of Ling Miaoyin's huge claw, Tang Wang's head was like a watermelon that was about to shatter. Blue veins were densely covered, and the faint blood vessels immediately protruded. The unconscious Tang Wang's entire face was squeezed into a purplish color. His head could burst open at any time, and blood would splatter everywhere. Ling Miaoyin, who had left Tang Wang, twisted her waist and walked slowly to Ling Qinshue's side. Ling Miaoyin's sudden attack made Ling Qinshu not know what to do. She stood at the side and looked at the angry Su Yi. She sighed in her heart, but there was nothing she could do. Worry crept on her face. Ling Miaoyin's beautiful eyes were full of hope. She stared at Ling Qinshu with her eyes full of splendor. Her slender fingers gently held Ling Qinshue's pink lotus forearm as she said to Ling Qinshu with a smile, "Come, sister. This place is too bloody. I can't watch. Did it scare you? Come, let's go over there." The gentle and sweet voice sounded like a vengeful spirit from hell demanding a life to Ling Qinshu. Chapter 14:18. Ling Qinshu was non-committal, but she couldn't bear to see such a scene. She was in a difficult position. "Let's go." Ling Miaoyin's demonic aura surged. Her cold eyes were filled with murderous intent. She glanced at Tang Wang, who was about to explode, with disdain and resentment. The incomparably demonic energy shook the heavens and earth, and the void roared. After that, he pulled Ling Qianxue to the high ground in the distance. Ling Qianxue was absent-minded. She didn't dare to look at Su Yi again. She pursed her lips and could only pray in her heart that Su Yi wouldn't be reckless. As expected, just as Ling Qianxue expected, Su Yi roared behind her, shocking the heavens and earth. Ling Qianxue had never heard Su Yi roar so loudly. Like a volcanic eruption, the aura spread in the demon aura forest. Endless waves of fire with scorching aura rose rapidly. Ling Qianxue was about to turn back, but Ling Miaoyin had already dragged her away. In a few blinks, they were far away. At this moment, Su Yi's eyes were about to burst. He was panting loudly, and the Origin Supreme technique was fully activated. White light overflowed all over his body, accompanied by a faint golden dragon aura. Golden patterns covered his body, and the abundant energy in the demon aura forest rippled. His clothes fluttered, and he looked like a young war god. Wait! In the raging flames, Su Yi's wide meridians surged with true qi, ready to explode at any time. Tang Wang's life was in Ling Lanin's hands, and Su Yi didn't dare to act rashly. Before you kill him, can you tell me the reason? Dust flew, and the ground shook. Su Yi behind her had an extremely solemn expression. His eyebrows were raised, and he looked at Ling Lanin, hoping that there was still a way out. He knew that Tang Wang wasn't the kind of person who would easily make enemies. There must be something going on. Ling Lanin looked at Su Yi, who was risking his life for Tang Wang. Memories flashed in her mind like a lantern. Tian Ke, looks like we're all going to die here. Fei below. The D ocean was surging violently, and the scorching hot lava was like a ferocious giant beast that was constantly advancing toward the horizon, as if it was going to swallow the sky. Ling Lanin cried out helplessly as she fell weakly on the rock. Rumble! The peacock divine bird's figure blotted out the sky, shaking the heavens. Terrifying explosions rang out in the sky, and a series of explosions resounded through the clouds. Golden light surged, and the surrounding mountains were incinerated, turning into fine powder and dissipating in the air. Facing the perilous situation, Tian Ke was still fearless and held Ling Lanin tightly behind him. In Ling Lanin's memory, those dangers were just a blur of light and shadow. With me here, you won't die. Since you're going to die anyway, let me ask you, if there's one place you want to go the most, where would it be? Tian Ke's fierce gaze towards Ling Lanin contained a final trace of gentleness. Ling Lanin looked at the heavenly palace in front of her. His shoulders were as broad as the heavens and earth. Her eyes were filled with endless tears as she sobbed. The demon aura forest. I want to go back, Ling Lanin said faintly. If she had to choose before she died, it would be to go home. Because before she came out, she had promised her second sister and everyone else, including the unborn little ninth sister, that she would definitely return safely. As Ling Lanin spoke, her eyes were filled with unswerving determination. Boom, 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 boom. Suddenly, Tian Ke rose into the sky, and his incomparably huge flaming wings kept flapping. A domineering and resolute aura instantly filled the entire space. In the blink of an eye, countless flaming storms gathered from all directions, including Tian Ke and Ling Qianxue. In the sky, on the ground, on all sides, as long as something touched the storm, it would immediately turn into nothingness, and its aura would crush everything in the world. Whoosh! In the flaming storm, Tian Ke spun rapidly, and his huge wings protected Ling Lanin within. The primordial energy that Tian Ke displayed was like a light pillar that pierced straight into the sky. Horrifying, the unparalleled flaming light pillar smashed a huge hole in the sky. When it reached the highest point, Tian Ke fell backward, and a huge hole was instantly carved out in the sky. It carried with it a majestic and destructive aura, and it was filled with astonishing energy. The pressure was impressive, and an incomparably huge spatial crack appeared in the sky. It was filled with the aura of flames, and it immediately rushed out. Bang! An incomparably powerful airflow pushed the weak Ling Lanin into the sky. When it came into contact with the spatial crack, it directly sucked Ling Lanin in. Ling Lanin, who was constantly rising, was terrified. She looked at the sinking figure of Tian Ke and covered her face as she cried. Tian Ke. Ling Lanin let out a heart-wrenching cry in the sky. It turned out that Tian Ke wanted to burn his last bit of life essence blood to help Ling Lanin leave alive. Far below, Deep Sea D was still scorching hot, and it roared out like a wild dragon. The boiling hot aura carried with it a domineering and destructive energy directly appeared below Tian Ke, as if it was waiting for its prey to enter with its huge mouth. Looking at the sinking Tian Ke and the sparkling flames, Ling Lanin had no other choice but to be taken away by the spatial crack. Her heart was filled with regret. If she had understood Tian Ke's words earlier, she would never have agreed to let him sacrifice his life for her. Let's go. A few breaths before Tian Ke merged into the magma, he gradually transformed from an incomparably huge divine bird into an extraordinarily handsome man. Looking at Ling Lanin turning into a shadow in the dazzling flames, his brows were filled with joy. Lanin, go and protect the one you want to protect. Then he gradually closed his eyes, and the boundless scorching heat engulfed Tian Ke's body until it disappeared. The flames in the sky soared into the sky, and the spatial crack gradually closed. From within, there were continuous rumbling sounds of explosions. Between heaven and earth, there were also explosions as the spatial crack closed. Mountains, rivers, and everything turned into nothingness in the flames. Back in reality, Ling Lanin's heart was still filled with lingering fear. Looking at Su-yi, Ling Lanin seemed to see Tian Ke in the past. Her cold and arrogant face was slightly moved. He was also unruly and had the same desire to protect others, even if he was not strong enough. Ling Lanin took a deep breath, glanced at Su Tian Ke behind her, and shouted in a delicate voice, "All right, then I'll tell you the reason." Ling Lanin waved her sleeves and put Tang Wang down. Soaring demonic aura quickly rose, and with a terrifying gust of wind, it directly swept Su-yi into the air. Standing in the air, Ling Lanin brought Su-yi to have a bird's-eye view of the entire demonic aura forest. She pointed at the entire forest and spoke to Su-yi. "What do you see?" Chapter 1419. Although the real demon aura forest was filled with demonic aura and spiritual energy, it was full of potholes when one looked down from above. Many of the trees looked as if they had just grown. Even the thick branches of the cloud-top tree were covered with countless uneven scars. How could the lair of such a demon tribe, sovereign, be so dilapidated? Su-yi was confused. He could not move the stone room at all, even when he used all of his strength. What kind of energy could turn such a place into such a tragic and desolate place? "What's this?" Sui cannot help but ask. "That's right. I'm as shocked as you are. What I saw was even worse than this when I returned from the space crack. The home that we, the 9 spirit links, had been living in for tens of thousands of years was destroyed just like that. Only Miao-yin and the rest were still waiting." Ling Lanin looked at the few young ladies far away as she spoke. They were playing with each other. A smile finally bloomed between her brows as she looked at them. Ling Lanin's eyes were filled with bitterness and sorrow as she looked at the demon aura forest that was devastated. "There are only 9 of us left in the 9 spirit links. My ability has been greatly weakened since the disaster. All of my sisters have turned into spirits. I can only use all of my ability to rebuild the demon aura forest and help them recover." Suyi's heart sank when he heard that. The 9 spirit links and the 9 lives cat demon clan had suffered a huge blow. They were really unfortunate clans. However, Su-yi still could not understand. What did this have to do with the 9 Stars Valley? His eyes were still filled with doubts. Killing intent rose from Ling Lanin's body immediately. She looked like an awakened killing god as she glared coldly at Tang Wang, who was lying on the ground. Those people destroyed the demon aura forest. I'll definitely take revenge in the future. However, it's all thanks to the 9 Stars Valley that our 9 Spirits clan's demon aura forest is so dilapidated and they're still so weak. Su-yi was secretly shocked when he heard that. He seemed to understand a little now. The 9 Stars Valley had occupied the Thunder Seal Valley and the few valleys around it all year long. They used that as a base to grow and grow. Some of their secrets must not be known to the public. Is this place called Thunder Sealing Valley by them? Ling Lanin said quietly. Before Su-yi could reply, Ling Lanin continued. The center of the Thunder Sealing Valley is the Demon Chi Forest. Originally, the 9 Spirits clan lived here, but ever since that great calamity, the world changed greatly, and the spatial laws of the Demon Chi Forest changed, transforming into many barriers. That's why the spatial laws of the entire Thunder Sealing Valley became so strange. Su-yi's mind gradually cleared up. Everything made sense now. What if this place wasn't an ancient god? How could there be such a dense spiritual chi of heaven and earth in a place where they lived? Until one day, a young man came to Thunder Sealing Valley and discovered the secret of this place. Moreover, he created a cultivation method called the Stellar Record, which could absorb the power of the stars. From then on, this place became their sect's treasury. Since then, the spatial laws here have been destroyed. After the change in the spatial laws, the recovery of the Demon Chi Forest became extremely slow. Initially, they could absorb the energy of heaven and earth to recover their bodies, but today, they're just spirits. Only Second Sister has a higher cultivation base and has improved further. Now that the entire Demon Chi Forest has recovered to this stage, it's all maintained by my power. Therefore, I've become a part of the Demon Chi Forest. I can't leave the Demon Chi Forest, and my sisters can't leave my maintenance either. Ling Lanin seemed to be talking to herself. As she spoke, the Demon Chi surged. Su-yi felt chills all over his body, and he had goosebumps all over. Stealing people's homes, hindering their recovery, and stealing spiritual chi. The rise of every sect was destined to have a history of blood and tears. They had to step on other people's corpses to move forward. Unfortunately, the 9 Stars sect was stepping on the 9 Spirits Lynx's home. Su-yi inhaled sharply. His expression was extremely solemn, and he remained silent for a long time. It was Su-yi's first time hearing about this secret. If all of it was true, Tang Wang, as a member of the 9 Stars sect, would not be able to escape death. Gulp, gulp. Su-yi swallowed his saliva and looked at the demonic forest that was covered in scars. He sighed in his heart. Countless scenes of the 9 Spirits clan living and reproducing here surged in Su-yi's heart. He thought about the seductive Ling Miaoyin, the cute Ling Muyin, and the arrogant Ling Jin and Ling Ruoyin. Which one of them was not pitiful? As a remnant soul, they could only rely on their elder sister to maintain their existence. They did not feel like they were alive at all. That's right, remnant soul. A thought flashed through Su-yi's mind as a subtle thought formed in his mind. Between heaven and earth, the purple glow spread across the sky. The dazzling glow never changed, shining on Su-yi's determined face. Su-yi was going to gamble with his power with Ling Lanin. If he succeeded, he would soar into the sky. If he failed, all of them would die here. Ling Lanin, I'd like to make a deal with you. Su-yi called out her name directly, but Ling Lanin was unmoved. She did not say a word and still stood there without a change in her expression. In the night breeze, Su-yi's eyes flashed with a strange light. In order to save Tang Wang, there was no other way. He could only give it a try. You promised Su Tianke that you would protect me, but my life is mine to decide. I'll use my life to exchange for Tang Wang's life now. Ling Lanin snorted softly. Her eyes were cold and her fists were clenched slightly, as if she was holding on to hope. Why? Because I can help Ling Miaoyin and the others recover their physical bodies, return your freedom, and make the demon chi forest no longer rely on you. Ling Lanin's crescent-shaped eyes trembled. She had waited for this wish for too long. She still could not believe that Su Yi's words were true. There's no loss for you. Why don't you give it a try? The reason why Su Yi could make such a request so openly was all thanks to Ling Lanin. Su Yi and Ling Qinxue had successfully fused their souls by restudying the heavenly Fei ancient scripture and making bold attempts. The origin supreme technique in his body was born from the mysterious ball of light. Ling Qinxue, who had entered the heavenly origin demon soul, had once told Su Yi that this place was beneficial for the recovery of the soul. If the mysterious ball of light could be given a little more power, no one knew what kind of effect it would produce. Ling Lani knew that Su Yi had too many secrets. She had bitterly supported the Demon Chi Forest for so many years. Due to the interference of the Nine Stars Valley, she could not split herself. She could only use a concealment technique to conceal the Demon Chi Forest and prevent the bloodline of the Nine Spirits' heavenly cat from being lost. Even so, the progress had been slow over the years. Recently, there had been many anomalies. The spatial laws had changed once again, causing Ling Lanin's own demonic aura to dry up. Chapter 1420. In order to hide the demonic aura forest, Ling Lanin had fought several times with the powerhouses who were guarding the Thunder Valley and the Nine-Star Patriarchs. Now that he had to put aside his grudge with the Nine Stars Valley, could he really let the people from the Nine Stars Valley go? Ling Miaoyin was chatting with Ling Qinxue affectionately. She looked gentle as she chatted with Ling Qinxue. She had an indescribable fondness for her. Ling Lanin took a deep breath. The Nine Spirit Links was more important than the grudge. She would take a gamble. Perhaps he was the one she had been waiting for. She hoped that she was right. All right, Ling Lanin said softly. Her brows relaxed as she looked at Su Yi. Come, let's do it your way. Under the dome, the clouds formed a colorful glow. It was dazzling and intense. Ling Lanin's demonic aura vibrated and brought Su Yi to the ground slowly, stepping on the soft ground. Su Yi's mood also seemed to have fallen to the ground. Miaoyin, come here. Ling Lanin spoke to Ling Miaoyin through demonic chi through voice transmission. Hearing her boss's call, Ling Miaoyin composed herself and flew over quickly. As she passed by, a gust of orchid fragrance entered the tip of Su Yi's nose. She lifted her seductive eyes at Su Yi and smiled mysteriously. Boss, why aren't you killing him? Ling Miaoyin was puzzled as she looked at Tang Wang, who was still lying on the ground. Ling Lanin did not even look at Tang Wang. However, there was a gleam of anticipation in her deep eyes. Don't talk too much. Listen to Su Yi later. Do whatever he tells you to do. Ling Lanin was shocked when she heard what Ling Lanin said. She frowned immediately. Why? He's a human, big sister. Ling Miaoyin frowned. Her seductive face was filled with coldness. She was very upset. Listen to me. You'll know why soon. Ling Miaoyin raised her head slightly, her fan-like eyelashes looking up at Su Yi. Ling Miaoyin reluctantly agreed. Seeing that Ling Miaoyin had no choice but to obey him, Su Yi was secretly pleased in his heart. Who told you to always use your seduction art to seduce me? Now you're in for it. All right, you may begin. Ling Lanin couldn't wait to tell Su Yi. Her cold eyes didn't even blink, afraid that she would miss any details. Su Yi immediately closed his eyes. Crimson light swirled around him as he activated the supreme art of origin. A majestic and destructive chi rapidly spread out from the forest of demon chi. Ling Miaoyin was the closest to Su Yi, so she could feel it the most directly. Her eyes widened as her heart trembled. That's the aura. What is it? How can you affect our demon race's sovereign? Ling Miaoyin circulated her demonic chi, trying to find out where Su Yi's aura came from. At this moment, Ling Lanin's voice transmission entered Ling Miaoyin's mind. Little sister, gather your chi and return it to your golden core. Follow Su Yi's aura. Don't resist. What a powerful soul energy. The more Ling Miaoyin submitted, the more surprised she was. She looked at Su Yi with astonishment. She could feel that her soul was slowly being absorbed into Su Yi's soul, bit by bit. This wasn't a strong absorption, but a summoning of an ancient power. It was sacred and majestic, holy and domineering. At this moment, with the guidance of the supreme art of origin, Su Yi activated the art of heaven controlling to the extreme. He fully displayed the intimacy of a soul controller with a heaven-grade soul and above. With an extremely slow speed, he placed Ling Miaoyin's soul into his heaven origin demon soul. Heavenly demon image, I am the spirit ancestor. Use it for me. Ling Miaoyin's soul gradually turned ethereal and floated into Su Yi's glabella like water. The moment she entered Su Yi's soul, Su Yi's robe fluttered, and his soul began to ripple. A majestic wind wrapped around Ling Miaoyin, and her heaven origin demon soul blazed like the sun. Ling Miaoyin felt like she was in a cocoon of light, and the scorching aura was just right to nourish her soul. Su Yi muttered the heavenly demon ancient scripture. Just like when he broke through the concealment state, Su Yi fully activated the heaven origin demon soul in his body. At the same time, he released his soul energy to sense Ling Miaoyin's remnant soul. The supreme art of origin was fully activated, and the mysterious ball of light in his body shone brightly. It was like a powerful aura from ancient times, and it poured into Ling Miaoyin's body. A terrifying soul energy fluctuation swept through Su Yi's heaven origin demon soul like a storm. What kind of soul is this? Ling Miaoyin exclaimed. In an instant, an endless amount of energy rushed towards Ling Miaoyin like a tidal wave. At this moment, Ling Miaoyin felt like she had fallen into a pool of energy, and she was constantly soaking in the energy of heaven and earth. Ling Miaoyin's heart trembled violently. This wasn't an ordinary soul pressure. No wonder this kid could break through Big Sister's seal. As Su Yi's mysterious ball of light continued to strengthen, the heaven origin demon soul's soul energy fluctuation also continued to leak out. Rumble. After a long while, the entire heaven origin demon soul was filled with a vast amount of energy of heaven and earth, as though heaven and earth were gathering together. Ling Miaoyin gradually closed her eyes within the heaven origin demon soul and felt the vast aura of heaven and earth. The soul was originally ethereal, and in this world, only Su Yi's mysterious ball of light could cover and nourish a remnant soul. In order to get the results of the experiment as soon as possible, Su Yi's sun-like ball of light became even more dazzling, and it emitted a trace of sparkling radiance. The entire ball of light was constantly condensing and changing, just like when he was refining his soul. Ling Miaoyin's remnant soul was rapidly refined and condensed according to the supreme art of origin, and finally materialized. It's going to succeed. He really did it. As a great demon, Ling Miaoyin's ability to sense the energy of heaven and earth and the soul surpassed all living beings. Soon, she could feel that Ling Miaoyin's soul was about to be refined successfully. She couldn't suppress the excitement in her heart, and her eyes were clear, with streaks of splendor flashing across. Ling Qianxue, who was beside her, was dumbfounded. The two of them knew that Su Yi was hiding too many secrets. Originally, she only thought that staying in Su Yi's soul would help in the recovery of the soul. She didn't expect that Su Yi would directly refine and condense the soul that he had absorbed. This was really unimaginable. There were 3 steps to the recovery of the soul: consolidating the demon core, refining the soul, and recovering the physical body. Ling Miaoyin might be suppressed, but her remnant soul's cultivation was still at the origin ancestor realm. Therefore, it was easiest for Ling Miaoyin to refine the soul. Bang! A blazing light beam shot out from Su Yi's forehead, and Ling Miaoyin's soul took on a corporeal form. Looking at her own form, Ling Miaoyin was in disbelief. This was the first time that she didn't need to rely on her big sister's strength and could take on a corporeal form on her own. This meant that as long as she could find a way to recover her physical body, Ling Miaoyin could be reborn. Chapter 1423. The Archean calamity was like a seed that buried a deep haze in Su Yi's heart. It was completely out of Su Yi's expectations that he could meet the Nine Spirit Lynx clan in this trip to the Nine-Star Valley, and Ling Qinxue had obtained a great opportunity. At the same time, he had also found Su Tianke, who had been lost for a long time. The giant tree at the top of the cloud was towering into the sky. Colorful clouds filled the sky as if a giant hand was holding up the sky. It was holding up the entire Nine-Spirit bloodline. In the middle of the giant tree, Su Tianke, who was in the form of an egg, was still unconscious. Ling Lanin looked at Su Tianke, whose demonic energy was rising, and her eyes lit up. "It's the old guy." Bang! Su Yi and Ling Qinxue, who were at the side, immediately felt a majestic demonic energy soaring into the sky. The entire branch that was as thick as a horned dragon was instantly heated up. The surrounding air surged like boiling water in an instant. The egg also turned from red to golden red, and the space ripples on it became very strange. The sky that was originally rendered extremely beautiful by the purple haze was suddenly filled with dense dark clouds. Lightning flashed and thunder rumbled. The wind blew and gathered. In the vast sky, light filled the sky. The clouds faintly emitted a powerful and vast aura. The sound was like wind and thunder, sonorous and incessant. Su Tianke. There was no doubt that Su Tianke was about to be born. The main purpose of this trip was the arrival of the big demon. Unable to contain the excitement in his heart, Su Yi's eyes were burning as he stared at the light waves in front of him. In the twinkling, the space was slowly deforming and compressing. In the end, it condensed into an unparalleled energy that instantly spread out from the giant tree at the top of the cloud. Rumble! The tide-like demonic energy flooded the demonic forest like a giant tornado. The entire demonic forest turned into a golden red world, an ocean of mythical birds. The energy that filled the world from all directions swarmed towards the giant tree at the top of the cloud, as if it was being summoned. Sizzle, 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 sizzle. A huge energy vortex was formed. It was overflowing with light and color. It was extremely magical. At the side, Ling Miaoyin, Su Yi, and Ling Qinxue immediately felt an incomparably terrifying destructive power fighting against the heavens and the earth. Being in the center of the vortex, they felt extremely conflicted. Su Yi, whose cultivation was the weakest among them, felt as if his entire body was being pierced by thousands of needles. The high-intensity energy had already exceeded the limits of what he could bear. Every minute and every second, he felt as if his limbs and bones were about to fall apart. Tiny cracks constantly appeared on his glossy skin, causing Su Yi to grimace in pain. Looking at the shorter trees around him, some of them had already been bent. Sand and stones flew everywhere, covering the sky and covering the earth. Some of the soft soil was directly overturned, and some of the hard soil mixed with stones could not withstand the external force and directly cracked, forming a spiderweb-like crack that spread into the distance. Strange phenomena descended from the heavens. Divine might was awe-inspiring, tyrannical, destructive, incomparably mighty. As the energy of heaven and earth gathered unceasingly, the egg absorbed the incomparably surging essence of the sun and moon. It trembled unceasingly, and the sound of wind and thunder resounded. Su Yi could faintly hear the heaven-shaking cries of divine birds. What a tyrannical power! Su Yi's divine sense had already started to hallucinate because of the huge force. In a daze, he felt an extremely powerful energy surging towards him like raging waves. The energy whistled, and like a vortex, it crazily spun and rose in front of Su Yi. Immediately, Su Yi cried out in his heart. Strange phenomena could disturb one's mind. Without thinking too much, he immediately circulated the Origin Supreme technique with all his might. At the same time, he activated the heavenly origin demon soul in his body. Under the extremely harsh conditions, the mysterious ball of light lit up and wrapped around Su Yi's body. The milky white divine light was like clothes. In the midst of the terrifying aura, Su Yi used his own energy to resist the birth of Su Tianke. Bang, bang, bang. Everything happened extremely quickly. The energy that shook the void forced Su Yi, Ling Miaoyin, and the others to continuously retreat. In order to avoid losing their footing in the energy vortex, the three of them planted their legs into the ground. A huge gully was directly pulled out from the ground, as if a chasm had descended from the nine heavens. The scene was incomparably terrifying. How much energy has this old fellow accumulated? Only Ling Lanin was unperturbed. She stood under the giant tree with a serious expression. Her almond-shaped eyes were wide open as she looked at Su Tianke and muttered to herself. Previously, Su Yi had witnessed the birth of little handsome Su with his own eyes. He was safe and sound because the Golden Rock Mystic Realm was built by the old Phoenix God. The spatial rules were very ancient and repetitive. Therefore, Su Yi did not feel any discomfort. However, in this ancient world, spiritual cats and peacocks were of different races. Their auras were even more different. The power generated by the birth of Su Tianke made Su Yi feel very uncomfortable. Let's go. Her voice shook the heavens. In the dazzling light that filled the sky, Ling Lanin transformed into her original form of a huge white cat. A fiery red mark floated between her eyebrows. Oh, bestial roars were heard, and a huge beast shadow suddenly appeared between heaven and earth. Its aura was terrifying, like a powerful expert's thunder, vast and long. Suddenly, the huge beast shadow charged out. Its body was filled with dazzling light. Its huge fleshy paw pulled Su Yi and Ling Miaoyin out of the ground. It flung them back and gently placed them on the high ground hundreds of feet away. Obviously, Su Tiang's energy had exceeded Ling Lanin's expectations. The spatial rules of the demon aura forest could no longer suppress him. As soon as they landed, a semicircular barrier surrounded Su Yi and the other two tightly. The strong wind outside could not enter at all. Miaoyin, little sister. Hearing Ling Lanin's call, Ling Miaoyin immediately understood. She pulled Ling Muyin and the others, who felt that something was wrong, into the barrier. Looking at the stagnant void in front of them, they opened their mouths and forgot to close them for a long time. You guys stay here. This old fellow is a little out of our expectations. I'll go and take a look. Ling Lanin's deep voice echoed like the sound of heaven. Under the protection of the barrier, the vitality in Su Yi's heart stopped surging. He looked at the giant tree from afar. His heart was filled with shock. His eyes were bright, and he was extremely excited. The strong wind was still spinning. In the energy vortex, as the egg broke, the crazy energy of heaven and earth poured in through the crack. A new aura spread out. Bang! A clear sound came from the energy vortex. Then a bright light shone. A fiery red light pillar rose into the sky and hit the dark clouds above. The void was vast and mighty. The ball-shaped lightning was dazzling. After it was hit by the light pillar, it became even more intense. The wind and thunder roared. In an instant, the energy of heaven and earth seemed to have solidified and was absorbed into the dark clouds. Boom! It rose into the sky, under the dome. In an instant, it was like a cannonball shooting into the sky. A huge divine bird rose from it and illuminated the void. Ling Lanin's giant cat was very small in comparison. Chapter 1424. In the sky, the ferocious eyes of the divine bird were like two bright moons hanging in the sky. At this moment, it was the ancient god who looked down on time. It was incomparably terrifying and destructive when it appeared. Its wings were spitting fire as it stared covetously at the ancient world below. Tianke, you're finally out. A petite figure stood in the air. It was Ling Lanin, who had already reverted back to her original form. She was not at a disadvantage in the oppressive ancient world. Demonic forest? A faint voice came from the sky. Su Tiang's body was shining brilliantly. His entire body was entrenched in the small sky, as if he had merged with heaven and earth. It made people tremble for no reason. The divine bird's ferocious eyes shone brightly, emitting a dazzling light like divine radiance. With the rumbling sound of wind and thunder, the supreme aura alone was enough to kill the world and destroy everything. Su, Yi, and the others in the distance were stunned. You really don't remember? Big Brother Tianke. Ling Lanin's voice was trembling. The whistling sound shook the sky. Wisps of demonic aura spread out like ripples and connected with Su Tianke. Light surged in his ferocious eyes, and scenes of the past surged into his mind. You are Lanin? Su Tiang's voice suddenly sounded obscure and old. He stared covetously at the scarred, demonic forest in front of him. His ferocious eyes were like blood moons, sharp and terrifying. Am I still one step too late? Did he still remember Fei? At the last moment in the deep sea of D, Su Tianke sacrificed his own life essence. It was so that Ling Lanin could return to the demonic forest and protect the people she wanted to protect. Ling Lanin smiled bitterly. It had been so long since the immemorial Great Calamity, and she had held on for the Nine Spirits bloodline for so long. At this moment, she finally relaxed a little after reuniting with an old friend. Yes, the Nine Spirits clan is all down there. Do you still have memories of that time? Since returning to the demonic forest, Ling Lanin had forgotten all about that time. Everything was shrouded in a mysterious light, and she could not recall it no matter how hard she tried. It's still blank, but I have a little impression. After it finished speaking, the divine bird shook the heavens. It was like a divine flame that swallowed and spat out the mist in the surroundings. Immediately, a vast amount of energy engulfed the area. It was as if countless stars were colliding with each other. Dense thunderclouds filled the sky as the chaos continued without end. Once again, the flames of hope appeared in Ling Lanin's heart. Her starry eyes were filled with heat. It's not real. I just feel the general direction. I'm going to take a look. I'll go with you. Ling Lanin's eyes burned as if they were spitting out flames. She had waited for this moment for far too long. She had suffered far too much today. The aura of solitude was incomparably intense and terrifying, as if it was about to destroy the world. She wanted to know everything about the disaster. She wanted to take back everything for herself, for the Nine Spirits clan, and seek justice. What about them? Su Tianke looked at the Nine Spirits sisters below him with worry in his eyes. Ling Lanin gave a gratified smile as she looked at her adorable sisters on the ground. The heavens had sent Su Yi to free her from this predicament. It's all thanks to Su Yi. Miao Yin's soul has been restored, and half of her cultivation has been restored. There are few opponents in this world, so I can rest assured and leave it to her. Su Yi. Su Tiang's fierce eyes suddenly shone with dazzling light. His aura soared into the sky and shook the mountains and rivers. Where's Su Yi? Come out, you brat. From afar, Su Yi had already seen the divine bird. When he heard Su Tianke calling his name, he took a deep breath and primordial qi surged under his feet. He soared into the sky and drew a huge arc in the air. In the blink of an eye, he arrived in front of Su Tianke and stood side by side with Ling Lanin. Facing two ancient gods at the same time, facing them, Su Yi still felt a little shocked. The golden dragon and the rock were already a wisp of remnant soul. Su Yi could not pry into the true power of the ancient gods. Now that the two ancient gods had appeared in front of him, Su Yi felt like he was in a dream. What are you waiting for? I'm calling you, brat. Su Tiang's voice was slightly excited. It was still as magical as before. There was no trace of the gloominess from before. You keep calling me brat. Su Tianke, you've taken my surname. Su Yi was amused. Su Tianke had really turned into a divine bird. How did he become even more unrecognizable? Su Tianke gently flapped his wings. Suddenly, a majestic flaming wind attacked Su Yi as if it was going to destroy the world. He suddenly realized that he was no longer the little chicken he used to be. He had immense strength. With another flap of his wings, he extinguished the blazing wave of fire. His aura shook the void. The strong wind came and went around Su-yi. Su-yi was a little puzzled. "What are you doing? Do you think you're still a little chicken? Flapping your wings and flying all over the sky?" Su-yi scolded softly. However, Ling Lanin could feel that whether it was Su Tianke or Su-yi, both of them were happy from the bottom of their hearts. There was not a trace of pretense mixed in. Thinking of this, Ling Lanin looked at the two in surprise. Whether it was the golden dragon, the phoenix, or even the peacock, these gods, they all favored Su-yi. There were too many miracles happening around him. "Cough, cough. Give me some face. My sister is here." Su Tiang's huge eyes were shining brightly. He could not hide his embarrassment. "Okay." Su-yi spread out his hands to show his approval. "How is it?" "I told you that I, Lord Sparrow, am a peacock. You don't believe me, right?" "Ha ha ha." Su Tiang's hearty laughter shook the world. He was very proud. Looking at the dumbfounded Ling Qianxue below, Su Tianke was even more surprised. "This little cat demon is not dead?" Su-yi hummed softly and told Su Tianke the whole story in a concise and comprehensive manner. However, Su-yi did not tell Su Tianke about little handsome Su. As the Phoenix god, he was the leader of the entire Phoenix clan. He was still unconscious, so it was better not to reveal his tail number. Now that the peacock had revived, as long as there was enough time, they would eventually meet again. After hearing this, Su Tianke was enlightened. So many things had happened since they parted that day. In the blink of an eye, Su Tiang's expression turned serious. He told Su-yi about the parting that day. "Su-yi, I'm leaving soon." That day, Su Tianke, who had been knocked in a mountain by the huge force of the explosion of the golden core, woke up and felt the peacock's power in his body being stimulated. He had a breakthrough in his cultivation. He cultivated in a different place and prepared to come out and find Su-yi's traces again. After that, a group of experts came to the barbaric demon forest to look for a mysterious wooden box. Unexpectedly, they found traces of him. During the pursuit, Su Tianke heard that the mysterious wooden box was taken away by Su-yi. The peacock's power was constantly stimulated and finally reached the point of a breakthrough. Su Tianke went all the way to the chaos region and felt that there was a strange phenomenon here. The rules of space were extremely chaotic, similar to the fragments in his memory. Chapter 1425. Su Tianke said. He had heard from his pursuers that they had finally found the whereabouts of their sex treasure, and that it was in the hands of a young man named Su-yi in the central continent. Therefore, they had hurried to the central continent to find Su-yi. After arriving, they heard about the sacred martial arts conference, and that Su-yi had disappeared from everyone's sight. Therefore, they could only go to the savage demon forest where Su-yi had been most active. "You stole their box?" Su Tianke looked at Su-yi in confusion. Su Tianke asked in shock. Su Tianke told Su-yi that those people's realms were very high at that time, and he was no match for them, so he could only flee. However, he was sure that those people were definitely not from the savage demon forest. He did not know how Su-yi had offended them. The Yuzhou demon-slaying sect? A thought flashed through Su-yi's mind. He immediately remembered that before the sacred martial arts conference, he had been cheated by the sacred mountain at the auction. He had taken on a huge debt to buy this mysterious wooden box. It was said that it was left by a senior from the Yuzhou demon-slaying sect 8,000 years ago. After thousands of years of being buried, the seal on it had become extremely powerful. It could not be broken or even opened by force. Could it be the Yuzhou demon-slaying sect? Su-yi's heart was filled with suspicion. Su-yi immediately took out the mysterious wooden box from his arms and looked at it carefully. The mottled wooden box was covered with tiny lines that had been accumulated over the years. There were mysterious lines lingering between the yellowed wooden grains, but there was still no aura fluctuation. Su-yi looked at it and gave it to Su Tianke and Ling Lanin for reference. As soon as he took it out, Su Tianke's eyes burned like flames. Ling Lanin's amber eyes were also full of surprise. Looking directly at the infant-sized wooden box, the two of them showed a surprised expression at the same time. Su Tianke said faintly, "Lanin, this wooden box is a little strange. I definitely can't open it with my current realm. Can you open it?" Su Yi was shocked. Although Su Tianke had not yet passed the form transformation tribulation, he was at least in the first tier of the Demon Grandmaster realm. Su Tianke, who possessed the supreme ancient power and ancient aura, was able to interact with the spiritual chi of heaven and earth. How could he not be able to open the mysterious wooden box? "Let me try." Ling Lanin looked at the small wooden box that had an extremely ordinary appearance and said softly. As soon as she finished speaking, Ling Lanin's demonic aura soared like a soaring dragon, and rays of light swiftly rose into the sky to envelop Su Yi's mysterious wooden chest. Suddenly, the mysterious wooden chest started to move, and an ancient aura wrapped around it. The aura surged, and the wooden chest started to emit a dazzling light. It was as if it had come from the ancient times, as if it had transcended thousands of years. After a short while, Ling Lanin's beautiful brows were tightly knit together. Her demonic chi shook, and an even more majestic energy was channeled into the wooden box once more. Suddenly, the mysterious wooden box started to tremble, and a terrifying aura gushed out from the gaps of the wooden box, clashing with Ling Lanin's purple demonic light. The two auras collided with each other, producing a thunderous sound. The aura that erupted also revealed a kind of majestic and destructive aura. It was like a volcanic eruption that shook the heavens and the earth, causing the light in Su Tianke's eyes to fluctuate continuously. The aura in the surroundings continued to surge, and the boundless energy formed a pushing force that pushed Su Yi a few miles away. Su Yi immediately activated the primordial origin supreme technique. The primordial chi in his wide meridians surged out like a great river. Under Su Yi's astonished gaze, the mysterious wooden box dimmed again and returned to its original calm state. There was no longer any reaction. "It's not working," Su Tianke whispered, looking at the changes in front of him in bewilderment. After the aura spread out, everything in the surroundings returned to normal, and Ling Lanin's expression became serious. Su Tianke was very puzzled. Su Yi's figure flashed, and he hurriedly approached the wooden box. His eyes were filled with confusion as he looked at the wooden box. He suppressed his aura and pressure to the lowest possible level to avoid being affected by the powerful energy just now. "It's not working. There's indeed a powerful restriction inside. It's quite powerful," Ling Lanin said in a deep voice. "Its cultivation realm is higher than yours." Su Tianke looked at Ling Lanin. Although Ling Lanin's cultivation realm had been weakened, it was still an ability that could not be understood in the current world. If Ling Lanin could not open it, then the mysterious wooden box was very terrifying. He had a surprise premonition in his heart. Its cultivation realm is not higher than mine. It's just that the energy that applied the restriction is as old as our archean aura. If one doesn't know its rules, it's very difficult to open it directly with force. It will be destroyed upon contact. Su Yi and Su Tianke were shocked beyond words. According to the introduction at the auction, this mysterious wooden box was very likely to be the lifelong knowledge left behind by an expert from the demons subduing sect in Yuzhou 8,000 years ago. However, how could 8,000 years be compared to the ancient power of the archean aura? After hearing Ling Lanin's words, Su Tianke pondered and fell into a long silence. He recalled that the person who hunted him back then was also much stronger than the strength of the current sect. It seemed that there was something fishy about this. Ling Lanin played with the mysterious wooden box in her hands again and tried to channel the purple demonic light into it again. The mysterious wooden box was like a living creature. It first absorbed Ling Lanin's demonic aura and then spat it all out. "Haha, it despises your demonic aura." Su didn't dare to say it out loud. Instead, it was Su Tianke who said it out loud. Ling Lanin rolled her eyes and snorted heavily. Then, she threw the mysterious wooden box back to Su Yi. No, I'm giving it back to you. It was the first time she had lost face in front of Su Yi. She couldn't help but look a little unhappy. Tianke, you've been reborn, but why is your mouth reborn as well? Why is it so fragile? Ling Lanin muttered softly. Su Tianke laughed. Then, an intimidating aura flowed across the sky. The air rippled and surged towards Su Yi like a raging sea. Su Yi looked at Su Yi and said, Su Yi, take good care of this thing. It will be of great use in the future. Don't let anyone snatch it away. Su Yi nodded slightly. Even Su Tianke and Ling Lanin couldn't open it. It seemed that it was really mysterious. He had to think of a way to find a way. Suddenly, Su Tianke restrained his expression. His huge, ferocious eyes hung in the sky. His aura was so intimidating that it made people tremble with fear. Lanin, the calamity will soon descend upon the world again. I fled here because of this strange phenomenon. Now is the best time to find out what happened back then. Did you discover anything about the forest of demonic aura? Ling Lanin recalled carefully as a vigilant and cautious gaze shot out from her eyes. The demonic forest was the center of the Thunder Seal Valley. Recently, the rules of space there had become more and more complicated. Chapter 1427. Su Tianke and Ling Lanin's abilities were beyond his imagination. The most important thing for Su Yi now was to seize every opportunity to cultivate and raise his cultivation level as soon as possible. The Archean disaster was too far away for him. After experiencing the 9 stars illumination moon phenomenon, Su Yi already knew from Ling Lanin that it was related to the Archean disaster. Therefore, he did not need to go to the 9 stars calamity, C, to verify it. However, the 9 stars calamity, C, was extremely mysterious. It was still a very good place for Su Yi who needed to train. Naturally, Su Yi did not want to miss it. I want to go to the 9 stars calamity, C, to take a look. Su Yi's eyes were extremely determined and filled with anticipation. Ling Lanin looked at Su Yi and nodded softly. She told Su Yi that before he left, she could help Su Yi to the border between the Sky Thunder Valley and the 9 stars calamity C. The 9 stars calamity C was the smallest place in the entire Thunder Valley. When the 9 Spirit Lynx was choosing its clan's land, it had wandered between the 9 stars calamity C and the Demon Aura Forest. However, in the end, because the Demon Aura Forest was vast and the space rule was stable, it became the 9 Spirit Secret Area's choice. The space rule in the 9 stars calamity C was complicated and varied. The terrain was high, and it was said that it was connected to the sky. The power of the stars was boundless, and not just anyone could enter. Ling Lanin could feel that because of the 9 stars illumination moon phenomenon recently, the spiritual energy and space rule in the 9 stars calamity C had surpassed the Demon Aura Forest. The 9 stars calamity C had the same ancient aura as the Demon Aura Forest. Therefore, not just anyone could use force to enter. Ling Lanin, whose cultivation level had weakened, could only send Su Yi to the entrance of the valley at most. Whether he could enter or not would depend on Su Yi himself. All right, Lanin, send Su Yi over. We're leaving soon. Su Tianke's eyes were bright red like divine fire. His wings stirred up wind, and the void shook. Ling Lanin turned around slowly. Ling Qianxue was standing where she was, looking at Su Yi and her hesitantly. She did not know if she could go forward. Qianxue, what about you? Stay or go with Su Yi? The Demon Aura Forest was the secret place of the 9 spiritual lynxes tribe. Ling Qianxue was thrilled and grateful to be able to find the origin. She had someone to rely on again. In addition, Ling Lanin had given him 9 drops of blood essence. 1 drop was enough to strengthen his gene dan. It was a good choice to stay in the forest of demon chi and slowly refine the rest of the blood essence. He would recover his soul and wait for his body to be reborn. There was a trace of hesitation in Ling Qianxue's bright eyes and white teeth. Her beautiful eyes were filled with hope as she tightly pursed her lips. She was somewhat hesitant. Ling Qianxue was a little hesitant. Su Yi and Ling Qianxue looked at each other, their hearts filled with hope. The two of them looked at each other. Ling Qianxue finally made up her mind under her bright and beautiful face. She mustered up her courage and said, "Su Yi, I'll go with you." Su Yi was over the moon when he heard what Ling Qianxue said. In comparison, the demon aura forest was more helpful for Ling Qianxue's recovery. She would be in danger and difficulties at any time if she were to go with him. Su Yi was surprised by Ling Qianxue's choice. He raised his brows slightly, and a strange gleam appeared in his starry eyes. Ling Lanin's eyes flickered slightly. She pondered for a while and smirked. She glanced at Ling Qianxue meaningfully. Her soft and pleasant voice was heard. "Su Yi, remember your promise." With Ling Qianxue by Su Yi's side, Su Yi had another reason to come back and help the 9 spiritual links. Bang! Demonic aura surged around Ling Lanin's body. A strange gleam flashed through her beautiful eyes. Suddenly, a strong gust of wind was created on the spot, covering Su Yi and Ling Qianxue. Bang! Elder Tang Wang, who was still in a coma, was pulled into the demonic aura storm by a strong force. He was spinning around with a strong gust of wind. The boundless energy storm spread out from the demon aura forest like a whirlpool. Su Yi and Ling Qianxue felt tiny and weak demonic glows penetrating their limbs and bones. The primordial chaos supreme in Su Yi's body seemed to have a natural connection with the demonic aura. He felt very comfortable when the demonic aura entered his body. He closed his eyes slowly. The sky was dark at the border of the Sky Thunder Valley. Lightning flashed and thunder rumbled in the sky. Together with endless true qi, it formed a huge pressure. Dark clouds covered the sky as if they were going to cover the entire land. Not far away, a few silhouettes flashed by like lightning. The leader was elegant and had an extraordinary aura. The few of them were wearing the same clothes and had a high cultivation base. However, all of them had weak auras as if they had just gone through a big battle. They frowned as they looked at the dark clouds in the sky. "City Lord Nangong, we'll reach the 9 stars, see if we continue forward." It turned out that the leader was Nangong Hang. Up until now, Nangong Hang had been entering the Sky Thunder Valley as fast as he could. He wanted to snatch the opportunity in the Thunder Valley before anyone else. He turned a deaf ear to everything else. Just as Nangong Hang was about to enter with his true qi, a cloud of black qi surged from behind him. It was like a demon from hell. Its aura was evil and heavy. It roared with a sorrowful cry. Whoosh! The huge cloud of black demonic aura was like a sharp sword that pierced through the air. Feeling the strange aura behind him, Nangong Hang was not surprised. He raised his right hand slightly, and a huge pillar-like ice dragon whizzed out. Endless strong winds were like a storm, tearing apart heaven and earth. The energy and the black demonic aura collided. The two forces collided. In the blink of an eye, the black demonic aura was entangled by the ice dragon and was frozen. The ice dragon was like a living creature. 2 pairs of bell-like fierce eyes flew up and down in the black demonic aura, emitting a deep blue demonic light. Following a series of beastly roars, the black demonic aura immediately collapsed and turned into a cloud of dust that flew in the air. "Hee cousin, you're still the best." A figure walked out of the black demonic aura. It was like a walking corpse. It was slightly taller, but its body was hunched. Its eyes were hollow and lifeless. It was like a demon from hell. It was extremely terrifying. "Why are you here?" Nangong Hang said coldly. He did not even turn his head, as if he already knew who it was. The 9 Stars Valley disciples at the side swallowed their saliva. The owner of the black demonic aura was the young sect leader of the Crimson Sun sect, Luan Shaw. Now that he had become so terrifying, everyone could not help but feel terrified and kept quiet out of fear. The only one left in the Darking sect is the crazy Sikong Shang. The old guys from the Green Flame sect have just walked out of the Beast Court. They seem to have been tortured by the demon Grandmaster experts inside. There's nothing else, so I came to check on your situation first. Luan Shua said with a strange and evil smile. Looks like you've swallowed a lot of star tokens. Where's the kid I asked you to keep an eye on? Nangong Heng frowned slightly. There was no one around, so he openly talked to Luan Shaw in front of the 9 Stars Valley disciples. Chapter 1428. A secret place appeared in the sky, Prison Mountain Range. Xikong Shang and Xuan Shuang went in first. In the end, I only saw them running out in a panic. I haven't seen Su Yi for a long time. I reckon that Su Yi is dead. Reckon? Dead? A sneer was heard. Nangong Heng turned around and raised his eyebrows. He looked at Luan Shua coldly, and murderous aura rose from his body. An intimidating aura quickly spread in the surroundings. A cold light shot out from his eyes and nailed Luan Shaw on the spot. The atmosphere was very cold. Luan Shaw, who was originally very strange, was suddenly frightened by Nangong Heng's aura. He was startled and lowered his head, not daring to speak again. Nangong Heng rolled his eyes. He knew what kind of person Su Yi was. He could even escape from the Golden Rock's secret realm. He would never believe that Su Yi would die so easily. Luan Shaw was so careless that he gradually had a bad premonition in his heart. However, it didn't matter whether Su Yi was dead or alive. The most important thing was how to enter the 9 Stars Calamity Sea. Nangong Heng had to make sure that he was the one in the lead. A 9 Stars Valley disciple, who was at the Origin Emperor realm, looked at the conversation between Nangong Heng and Luan Shaw. He already had a huge sense of crisis and immediately wanted to retreat. Nangong, City Lord, we want to stop here. The 9 Stars Calamity Sea ahead is the Thunder Sealing Valley's forbidden area. We don't want to go forward anymore. The corner of Nangong Heng's mouth slightly curved into a smile. He looked at the disciples behind him who entered the valley together with him. There was a trace of coldness in his cold eyes. Did my cousin say that he would let you leave alive? Luan Shua wanted to get back at them for his mistake just now and immediately interrupted. He crossed his arms and stood in the same place. He looked at the 9 Stars Valley disciples with an evil smile that made people tense up. The 9 Stars Valley disciples looked at Luan Shua in a daze and then looked at Nangong Heng with a smile. They knew that they were doomed and immediately panicked. The leading 9 Stars Valley disciple knew that he couldn't escape. His hand that was holding the Tao artifact trembled and large beads of sweat rolled down his forehead. City Lord Nangong, I beg you, please let us go. We will definitely not reveal what happened to you. The disciples of the 9 Stars Valley are not allowed to kill each other. Castellan Nangong, please let us go. The other disciples behind him were also pleading bitterly with a sobbing tone. Nangong Heng bowed to the disciples of the 9 Stars Valley in a slightly apologetic manner. However, the disciples of the 9 Stars Valley became even more afraid. They trembled and curled up into a ball. If I let you go, without the power of the stars, how am I supposed to enter the 9 Stars Tribulation Sea? Without sufficient star power, it was impossible to enter the 9 Stars Calamity Sea. Nangong Heng was determined to enter the 9 Stars Valley, even if he had to pay a price. Roar! Bang! Nangong Heng then turned his head and no longer looked at the people behind him. He looked at the entrance of the Sea of Calamity, which was covered in misty star patterns, and carefully studied it. Luan Shua's eyes glowed red as he muttered to himself, forming hand seals. Immediately, a black fog sword broke out from the depths of the earth. The grass and trees on the ground were immediately corroded and withered. It was extremely terrifying. Run! The disciples of the 9 Stars Valley immediately circulated their primordial chi and ran. The primordial chi under their feet swept up, and they quickly retreated. Boom! The aura of the huge sword was monstrous. It was like a malicious spirit that was chasing after someone with unparalleled power. It quickly arrived in front of the disciples of the 9 Stars Valley, and an extremely sharp, dark aura burst out. The incomparably dark sword light drew an arc in the air, blocking the disciples of the Nine Stars Valley. Then the area was constantly shrinking. The disciples of the Nine Stars Valley were surrounded by the sword light. They held the treasured sword tightly, and their palms were sweating. Immediately, a destructive aura spread from the treasured sword to the disciple's arm, and gradually spread to the disciple's hand. It was like a black snake that entangled everyone. "Help! Help!" The disciples' eyes were filled with horror. They kept waving their hands and screaming. The black fog seemed to be absorbing their souls. The disciples quickly withered. They did not have time to struggle. Their heads tilted to the side, and there was no sound from them. When the black fog dissipated, the thicker bodies quickly withered and collapsed on the ground like ragged balloons. "Your cultivation of the great Sun Azure sword is not bad," Nangong Heng muttered to himself as he looked at the dried corpses on the ground. Blood flowed out from the charred bodies and dyed the entire soil red. "Thank you, cousin. It's all your credit." Wan Shua's eyes were shining. The black light was dazzling, and his eyes were filled with blood chi. He was like a bloodthirsty demon. After he finished speaking, he handed the star tokens from the disciples to Nangong Heng. As soon as the purple gold star token was in his hand, Nangong Heng's black hair fluttered and his robe fluttered. The aura around him surged and absorbed the surrounding soil water vapor, forming a layer of faint mist. In the mist, the aura was spreading. The black gas was gushing out, and it was connected with the stars in the sky above his head. Soon, a terrifying and domineering aura of destruction spread out. It was like the waves of the sea, and it was rapidly attracting the stars. After a long while, Nangong Heng withdrew his primordial chi. His eyes were deep and bright, and on the surface of his sparkling skin, several starlight patterns surged. In the distance, a few figures were flying over. Nangong Heng immediately had a cold and fierce look on his face as he said to Luan Shua, who was beside him, "Hide aside first and wait for an opportunity to act." Luan Shua nodded slightly. The black gas around him spread again, and the two disappeared on the spot. "The Nine Stars, C, is in front. Quickly find Sui." It was Meng Sun's voice that came from afar. He roared at the sky in a very violent manner. In Meng Sun's heart, he was very sure that Su Yi was the murderer of the disciples. They did not find any trace of Su Yi along the way, which made him more and more violent. When Meng Sun and the others arrived, they were stunned when they saw the miserable state of the Nine Stars Valley disciples. Why are the Nine Stars Valley disciples also dead? An elder of the Green Flame sect muttered in a low voice. Meng Sun's face was even more solemn. The death of the Nine Stars Valley disciples was very similar to the death of his personal disciples. Seeing the tragedy of the Nine Stars Valley disciples in the Thunder Seal Valley, all the sects in the Thunder Seal Valley were suspicious. Could it be that Su Yi has already gone in? Along the way, they did not see Su Yi's figure. Was Su Yi really more powerful than a top origin ancestor like him? Even he cannot catch up with him? Elder Meng Sun, who was very experienced, had more and more doubts in his heart. If the Green Flame sect disciples had a conflict with Su Yi, then Su Yi still had a motive to kill them. However, Su Yi would never kill the Nine Stars Valley disciples. Because of the star tokens, an elder of the Green Flame sect muttered behind him. Meng Sun focused and checked. Indeed, all the star tokens of the Nine Stars sect disciples had disappeared. However, was it really Su Yi's doing? Meng Sun, who had calmed down, began to carefully analyze the situation in the valley. Chapter 1429. Nangong Heng and Luan Shua concealed their auras and looked at Meng Sun and the others at the border of the Sky Thunder Valley and the Nine Stars Calamity Sea. "Cousin, what should we do with these people?" There were 3 elders from the Green Flame sect who were at the Primitive Emperor and Origin Ancestor realm. If they could enter the Nine Stars Calamity Sea successfully, they would be powerful helpers. Nangong Heng thought for a while. "You stay here and watch. I'll go up for a while." Nangong Heng stopped concealing his aura and origin chi surged under his feet. A cloud of blue water vapor covered his body as he rushed toward Meng Sun. "Who is it?" Meng Sun raised his eyes and saw a figure coming behind him. He shivered and looked back, sweating profusely. "What was I afraid of?" Meng Sun cursed in his heart. "Elder Meng, it's me, Nangong." Nangong Heng quickly approached Meng Sun and cupped his fists in the air. He looked dignified and pretended to be travel-worn. Seeing Nangong's figure, Meng Sun immediately knew that something was wrong. It would be hard for anyone to explain why he appeared at the scene of such a tragedy. "Elder Meng, you're so fast. Have you seen any of my disciples?" Before he finished speaking, Nangong Heng's eyes were filled with horror. Seeing the scene in front of him, the 4 disciples of the 9 Stars Valley who came in were like zombies. It was terrifying. He couldn't help but tremble slightly and said with a pale face, "Elder Meng, please tell me what's going on." Meng Sun saw Nangong Heng floating down slowly and said embarrassedly, "Governor Nangong, we saw this scene as soon as we arrived. It has nothing to do with us." Governor Nangong looked at Meng Sun suspiciously and didn't answer directly. After a moment of silence, he bent down to check the injuries of the 9 Stars Valley disciples and said with a smile, "Elder Meng, don't be nervous. The deaths of my brothers are a little strange. It has nothing to do with the origin chi martial technique of the Green Flame sect." Nangong Heng slowly got up and looked at the 9 Stars Valley disciples with a pained expression. "But if I find out who killed my disciples, I'll make him pay with his blood." After hearing Nangong Heng's words, Meng Sun heaved a sigh of relief. After thinking for a while, he told Nangong Heng about his disciples' tragic death. "Oh, there's such a thing." Nangong Heng pondered for a moment. His brows were solemn as he continued to speak. "If it was really Su Yi's doing, Elder Meng, you and I should unite against a common enemy and kill this thief." Meng Sun nodded gently. After talking to Nangong, he felt a little uneasy. He was actually a little unsure whether it was Su Yi or not. Nangong Heng regained his composure and pretended to be normal. "Elder Meng, now that you and my sect have suffered heavy losses, Nangong will naturally investigate this matter. Right now, entering the Calamity Sea is more important. Why don't we enter together?" When Meng Sun heard this, he was a little surprised. The 9 Star Valley actually took the initiative to form an alliance? Regardless of the fact that they would be able to enter the 9 Stars Tribulation Sea smoothly with the help of the 9 Stars Valley's people, they immediately agreed. The 2 elders of the Green Flame sect quickly cleaned up the 9 Stars corpses. Nangong Heng and Meng Sun came to the entrance of the 9 Stars Tribulation Sea together. "I wonder if Mayor Nangong knows how to enter the 9 Stars Tribulation Sea?" Nangong Heng paused for a moment before explaining to Meng Sun. This was the reason why the 2 of them needed to form an alliance. According to the ancient records in the valley, one had to be at least a sky origin ancestor to enter the 9 Stars Tribulation Sea. As soon as he finished speaking, a wild laughter exploded behind him like thunder. "Ha! 9 Stars Tribulation Sea. I, Sikong Shang, am coming." Like a tornado, 2 streams of light were chasing after it. Within the light and shadow, the figures of people were flickering and cursing incessantly. It turned out that the one who was laughing wildly was Sikong Shang, whose memory had been erased by Ling Lani. Sikong Shang's hair danced in the wind, and the vital energy under his feet was like lightning as he flew rapidly in the air. If Su Yi were here, he would be very familiar with the 2 people following behind him. They were Elder Chun Chuan and Xian Shuang, who had been expelled from the secret realm by Ling Lani. The 3 of them chased each other, and in a flash, they arrived at the border of the Sky Thunder Valley. They just happened to see Nangong Heng and Meng Sun there. "Xian Shuang, if you have the ability to enter the 9 Stars Tribulation Sea, come and catch me again." "Are you crazy? Why you keep chasing me? Do you want to die?" Xian Shuang and Chun Chuan behind him had also stopped. They looked sideways at the entrance in front of them, and their faces were solemn. Previously, they had only been acquaintances with Sikong Shang. They did not know why they were chasing after him. Since they had come out of the Sky Prison Mountain Range, They had seen Sikong Shang running forward. Hence, they had forgotten about the people of the Blue Cloud Palace and only focused on chasing after him. At this moment, they had finally caught up. The two of them looked at Sikong Shang in front of them in confusion, and their minds were blank. Chen Chuan, do you remember what Sikong Shang did? Chen Chuan recalled carefully. Suddenly, his head felt a sharp pain. A thick, ancient aura surged into his mind, enveloping his entire memory. Then, he shook his head helplessly and said, I have a feeling that there is a big grudge between us, but I can't remember anything. How strange. Xian Shuang was dressed in a long robe. His snow-white beard danced in the air. He stopped thinking and bowed slightly to Nan Gongheng and Meng's son. Nan Gongheng nodded with a smile, but a layer of haze gradually appeared in his heart. He still said, Elder Xian Shuang, Elder Sikong, Elder Meng's son, and I have been pondering for a long time. We are preparing to try the method to enter the 9 Stars Tribulation Sea. At the intersection of the Sky Thunder Valley, faint clouds swirled like a hazy ball of light. Xian Shuang and Sikong Shang walked forward and stared at it for a while. A majestic force hit them in the face. The two of them simultaneously released their primordial chi and slammed it toward the restriction at the entrance. In an instant, 2 towering rays of light shot toward the entrance from different directions. Their auras spread out like wild waves. A punch was thrown out, breaking the sky. The power of the Origin Ancestor realm was undoubtedly displayed at this moment. The 2 rays of light were extremely terrifying, as if they were made of metal. They intertwined with each other and collided with the restriction at the entrance. Buzz! Immediately, the rays of light disappeared like clay oxen in the sea. The majestic force on the restriction instantly turned into nothingness. An earth-shaking muffled sound cut through the sky and lingered in the sky above the Sky Thunder Valley for a long time. Whoosh! Xian Shuang and Sikong Shang withdrew their palms at the same time. Their eyes were full of surprise. They quickly retreated and stopped trying, because the space rules of the 9 Stars Tribulation Sea were completely beyond their imagination. Chapter 1430. Then he said, Elders, this is a restriction set up by the 9-Star Ancestor to prevent outsiders from entering. Rumor has it that entering the 9 Stars Calamity Sea not only requires an extremely strong external attack, but also requires the help of the Star Wrecker to gather the power of the stars here. Only by combining the two can there be a possibility of opening the 9 Stars Calamity Sea. Nangong Hang continued. The 9 Stars Calamity Sea had not been opened for many years. No one knew how much external force was needed. Then tell me, what should we do? Sikong Shang's eyes rolled as he said in a low voice with a strange laugh. Nangong Hang paused and looked at the 3 Origin Ancestor experts. His eyes were blazing. Nangong has a small idea. The 9 Stars Calamity Sea requires the 3 Elders to attack together. In addition, I will draw the power of the stars for everyone. Only by the 4 of us working together can we possibly enter. After hearing Nangong Hang's words, everyone fell into silence. The 9 Stars Calamity Sea had not been opened for many years. No one knew what kind of treasures there would be inside. Everyone had their own ulterior motives. They all wanted to monopolize the opportunities in the 9 Stars Calamity Sea and did not want to waste too much energy at this time. Looking at the hesitant elders, Nangong Hang was very anxious. Just as he was about to speak, another group of people rushed over from the dark clouds in the distance. It was the people of the Blue Cloud Hall, Wei Hong, Qin Yu Sheng, Shi Su, and Sita Muyang. A beautiful man followed closely behind them. It was Yang Ming. As they ran, Sita Muyang asked Yang Ming, who was behind him, Brother Yang Ming, do you think Junior Martial Uncle will be okay? Sita Muyang asked worriedly. Shi Su, who was in front of him, also listened carefully when she heard Su Yi's name. Yang Ming nodded softly. He told Sita Muyang that he and Su Yi were separated in the stone room. Before leaving the secret place, a beautiful woman told him that Su Yi would come out in a while and that he did not need to worry. He could not remember anything else. Yang Ming, who was directly expelled, actually came out right after Xian Shuang and the others. After he came out, he followed Xian Shuang to the entrance of the border. Nan Gonghang's eyebrows were extremely heavy as the corner of his mouth twitched slightly, and he said in a gloomy voice, "Don't worry, master. Elders, the power of the stars is constantly dissipating. 10 days are almost up. Have you all not decided yet? If that's the case, Nangong won't go in either." When Wei Hong heard Nangong Hang's words, he immediately raised his eyebrows and spoke to Elder Xian Shuang. "Elder Xian Shuang, Calamity Sea and Blue Cloud Palace must go together." Sure Susu and Qin Yusheng immediately agreed. They both expressed that they would advance and retreat together. They had waited for too long on the heavenly prison mountain range. At the final moment, no one wanted to sit and wait for death. When Xian Shuang heard this, she said to Nangong Hang embarrassedly, "Governor Nangong, what do you think we should do? Everyone wants to go in. We can't just wait at the entrance, right?" Nangong Hang's heart was filled with anger. He had given Wan Shuo the Sun Azura sword with the intention of clearing the obstacles for him. In the end, almost all the other forces were destroyed, but Blue Cloud Palace and Bawang sect did not lose anyone. This group of old men relied on their numbers. He could not get any benefits at all. After thinking for a while, he said with a mysterious smile, "There are opportunities everywhere in the Ninth Star Calamity Sea. If it can be opened smoothly, it will naturally be good for everyone to go together. I just hope that the Sandpiper and the Clam do not fight and let some fishermen benefit." After he finished speaking, he glanced at Yang Ming of Bawang sect. Meng Sun saw him and immediately shouted, "Demon thief, where is your master?" Yang Ming's long and narrow eyes shot out a beam of light. With the golden dragon bloodline and the ancient aura around him, Yang Ming, who was at the 9th level of the Demon Emperor realm, was not afraid of Meng Sun, who was at the Origin Ancestor realm. "Old Ghost, what did you say?" Just as he finished speaking, a demonic aura shot up into the sky and attacked Meng Sun. Meng Sun pointed at Yang Ming and shouted, "You dare not admit that you killed my elite disciple. Which of your dog eyes saw that my Bawang sect did it?" "You." Meng Sun was immediately angry. After thinking for a while, he realized that there was indeed no direct evidence to prove that Su Yi had killed him. However, no matter how hard he racked his brain, Meng Sun could not think of anyone else who could have such a murderous method and sufficient motive. "Humph!" Yang Ming snorted heavily and looked at Meng Sun as if he was looking at an idiot. On the other hand, he was faintly worried that Su Yi had not appeared for a long time. Nangong Hang waved his hand, indicating that they should stop arguing. There was not much time, and it was more important to open the Calamity Sea immediately. According to Nangong Hang's instructions, the 3 Origin Ancestor realm experts stood in the east, west, in front of the mouth of the valley, forming a triangle around the mouth of the valley. Then, Nangong Hang's water-based primordial chi rose and stood in the air above the mouth of the Calamity Sea. "Get ready to begin," Nangong Hang shouted. As soon as he finished speaking, the 3 Origin Ancestor realm experts opened their absolute territories at the same time. Unparalleled energy filled with the rules of space rushed toward the mouth of the Calamity Sea with earth-shattering energy. It was like a surging river, and the power of the Origin Ancestor realm was completely released, spreading out in the void. The robes of the 3 elders fluttered, and their faces were solemn. Their eyes were cold, and the chi in their bodies surged to the extreme. At the same time, they threw out their palms. Green, red, and white lights shone brightly, rippling with dazzling light. Under the concerted efforts of the 3 people, their palms pushed and retracted, turning into an extremely thick and long waterfall, brazenly attacking the mouth of the Calamity Sea. At the same time, Nangong Hang muttered to himself. His hands continued to form seals, and his left hand faced the sky. Mysterious star runes? From the soles of his feet, they gradually formed a vast and unparalleled energy that swept through the void, bringing with it an unstoppable power. The onlookers beside him all gasped, not daring to breathe too loudly. This was the combination of the three Origin Ancestor Realm experts and the Star Runes, and the enormous destructive energy produced was beyond imagination. Everyone held their breaths and carefully watched the changes at the mouth of the Calamity Sea. In the next moment, 9 tiny bright blue pillars of light broke through the dark clouds in the sky and shot out of the clouds. When the energy of the 3 elders' territories hit the mouth of the Calamity Sea, the 9 light pillars surrounded the mouth of the Calamity Sea in a circular shape. The star runes were densely packed, and the complicated runes outlined the mysterious star runes. TSK Tisk. In an instant, a powerful force burst forth. As the light pillar continued to rotate, it formed a dazzling vortex of light that had a terrifying tearing ability. You're tuning into the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.